Jobs data incoming here this morning, 30 minutes away from December non-farm payrolls print that could be a market mover. We'll bring that to you when it does come through. We're also getting some productivity data that's going to come through at 8:30. We'll touch on that coming up. But futures back to the upside here ever so slightly, just creeping back into positive territory for the S&P and the Nasdaq anyways over the last couple of minutes here after a very, very choppy session yesterday. That was the SPY. Yesterday, lots and lots of back and forth action. We might get some oil narrative back in play once again today with CVX anyways. Some oil execs at the White House today to talk about Venezuela and a possible plan forward. We're also maybe going to get a Supreme Court ruling on these tariffs at some point today. So lots of question marks floating in the background here for the market heading into the weekend and what has been a uneventful week, I guess, to start off the brand new year. Adair back beside me here this morning to talk about these jobs data specifically. I think a lot of people have that in focus, but for the most part, really not expecting a massive surprise here, I don't think.
No, I think it's just because we usually get all of this jobs data all at once that it becomes like this exciting buildup, and then we get a whole bunch of different numbers with the ADP earlier this week and JOLTS, and now we're at the home stretch basically. So it'll be interesting to see what this print does end up giving us. Might move the market a bit because you're right, we did have a lot of still trading yesterday, which could have been people waiting for this print. There's a lot of catalysts to talk about though. I mean, OKLO up in a massive way here. Meta signing deals with both OKLO and VST with regards to power campuses to support Meta's data centers. We also had U.S. President Donald Trump posting on X again, or not X, sorry, Truth Social, once again, both about the housing space, so the mortgages. We have moves in RKT and OPEN. And then he's also been busy posting here about Intel. I guess he met with Lip Bhutan yesterday. It went well. He praised the company. He praised the investment. And the stock went up.
Yeah, Intel getting a little bit of a boost on that. Here's a look at what is to come coming up at 8:30. Building permits, some housing data, but this is the headliner today. December non-farm payrolls down here. 64,000, if you remember, was the prior print on this number. It depends on what you look at, but this website anyways, throwing out 45,000 on the expectation. I've seen higher than that, I've seen lower than that, so we'll bring that to you when it does come through. Unemployment rate last time, 4.6%. Zoom in there a little bit maybe to make that a little more legible. There we go, 4.6%. 4.6% is the forecast. So a flat month-over-month print expected there. We're also going to get building permits, housing starts data, participation, government payrolls, non-farm payrolls on the private side of things. And then worth noting as well, coming up at 10 o'clock this morning, University of Michigan sentiment as well, which also has a inflation tie-in to it. So we could get a double whammy here potentially as far as the macro side of things. I mean, we've been talking off and on about this Supreme Court decision that could be a huge catalyst for the market going forward into 2026. May or may not come today at some point. We may have a market move, we may not. But I mean, another thing to just kind of keep in your mind on a Friday.
Yeah, and I think it's really worth noting that point you just made. We are not at all guaranteed to get this today. Like, this is not a guarantee, because I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat asking me, like, what's it going to do to the market? I'm not even sure it'll come out today. The other thing, too, that's, I think, worth noting is we do have a lot of Polymarket and Kalshi. We know sometimes these prediction markets can be a good gauge of sentiment. Both of those have very low odds of these tariffs being upheld, but also this is with the timeline of 2028. Like, do you think the tariffs will be upheld by 2028? So just be aware here. This today could give us some insight or it could give us absolutely nothing. Either way, you know me, I'll be watching it for you guys.
And the other aspect of this is we could get the situation where if it does come out or if some sort of decision comes out, that it's not necessarily a blanket type of decision where it's all or nothing kind of thing, either direction, yes or no. It could be individual, it could be different parts of the market, therefore, affected by that. So lots to consider here as far as that is concerned. But yeah, oil execs at the White House. We have tariffs to think about today, guys. Obi is in for Sean. Good morning.
Good morning,
everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's a lot. I don't think we usually see a Friday with this much to sort of contend with. Jobs, like you said, jobs numbers are going to be coming out. We'll see about the Supreme Court decision. But you got to consider two big deals by Meta has a couple of things moving. OKLO, most people are probably like all excited because OKLO is up 18%, and then SMR is going to be up in sympathy to that. But the other deal was with Vistra Energy. They're up 15% on their own, a little more, just a little bit more expensive, much bigger company, obviously, as well, but catching a huge bounce. Yesterday it was the oil-related names. Today it's the nuclear names. And then on top of that, you got the president making two declarations. One of them was praising Intel's new chip after a meeting with the CEO, but possibly causing some movement in Opendoor and some housing-related names, as the government's going to look to try to find a way to lower some prices. And so this one goes from terrible 2 days ago to looking like a potential breakout. So there's really a lot to cover. Yep. And we didn't even mention, well, we knew they weren't going to make any money. But it wasn't about whether they made money or not. It was about whether revenues are better than before. So Tilray, believe it or not, up 10% here. That's going to be in play. Volume is not incredible on this, but it did just reverse split like a month or so ago. So, you know, it's not as thickly traded as it used to be, but yeah, it's on the move today. So lots to watch. Should be an exciting Friday, of course. And Obi, you got the green on.
Yeah.
You feeling bullish?
I don't know, man. I think maybe a little bit on some of these smaller mid-cap names for sure. Yeah, I'm still kind of running through some of my morning scans here, and yeah, OKLO and Vistra look great. But I was also looking at RKT here with another bit of a push into this prior level here, and just looking at higher time frames. You know what I like better than yes, Vistra's running, SMR is also running. Both OKLO and SMR are coming into some prior resistance levels, and as well as RKT. So yeah, I'm going to be looking at a few different names for daily, weekly breakouts here. Let's just go up to, let's see, we can go up to daily here. So we can see here in the pre-market session, we're coming up into this daily breakout of 2256 here on RKT. When we go to OKLO, right here, once again, another daily breakout. This is the pre-market price. This is already broken out of this prior day high from December 4th. That's coming in at 114.29. Similar story when you go to SMR. Another daily breakout on the horizon. Hasn't really got there, but I think it did get there on the reaction, but 23.35 here for SMR. So you can see here, actually, no, it did not get there on, it got to 22.49. So close, about $1 away. So a few daily breakout levels in play for sure. VST not really looking the same as the rest of them. When I go to the daily chart here, you can see it was a bit of a quadunk over the past couple of days. Some strong selling off of this bit of a range breakdown, 160, but we're swiping right back up. So yeah, the daily breakout has already happened in the pre-market, 172.50s. You can see there's a lot of noise here. There's like, it might be gapping up into this resistance as well. So VST, I'll have it on watch, but OKLO, SMR, RKT definitely ones to watch out for, and previous day runners as well, Neil. We saw that Oxy was running like crazy yesterday. Like, what was going on here? Yeah, exactly. CVX, another one. So I tried to take a bit of a reversion here. It did come in going into the end of the day, but CVX as well. This one here, nice little pull back in, but take a look at where we're opening up on the day today. We've already gapped up above prior day's highs, and the pre-market consolidation is holding much higher. So some of these names as well for a day two potential continuation. I have no idea. I'm willing to go both ways. Let's see what the market brings us, especially with some of those some of those macro numbers coming out later.
Absolutely, and just speaking of runners and smaller mid-cap type runners, on this ONDS pricing. A 1 billion offering of 19 million common shares. This has not seen a red day in a week or so. Another fresh high was made yesterday. It's up 4%, mostly because it found its top in the morning yesterday and then ended up closing. It closed obviously up yesterday, but losing some of those gains. So you're going to see it up 4%, but still very much in the range underneath that 15 high that it put in yesterday's trade. I also see Rigetti has some news in here as well, although for now, Rigetti is trading lower, it seems. You would have thought. So Rigetti revises date for general availability of its 108 qubit system to end of Q1 2026. They're taking more time to test and optimize the system to ensure the performance is up to their standards. As you can see, it dropped about $1 initially, getting some of that move back. Notable here because this one had a lot of resistance yesterday. It was kind of trend up in the morning and then falling back for most of the afternoon here on RGTI. So there's a lot to watch, and the thing in RGTI, like Rigetti's just been chilling out in the same range for a while. Not sure that news is going to be able to make it break out. But yeah, as I said, there's going to be a lot to watch, things like headlines all the way through. And of course, soon we'll get the jobs data at 8:30. If like I can already see, like Dare is always like focused on the news. If we get anything out of the Supreme Court, trust me, she'll be all over it and interrupt instantly. Although we'll probably see some market movement. There could be very name specific. I think a lot of the expectation is that any decision that gets made won't be like completely binary. It'll be like kind of a mixed sort of decision. So you might want to look at some individual names when that comes. So let's get back up on it. Back up to the desk. As we said, a lot to cover. It's going to be a busy Friday.
Just noting CVX starting to move back to the upside here. Pretty good day yesterday for Chevron. Ended the session basically at the highs around this 160. We're higher here again today. Again, if you're just joining, we will have oil execs at the White House today talking about the Venezuela situation, including Chevron. If you haven't read yet, Chevron, the only one currently with manufacturing operations in Venezuela. I mean, I feel like this conversation's more or less just going to go, how much more do you want to spend on setting up infrastructure and setting up manufacturing in the country? And then he'll gauge on whether or not how many other companies will be able to do the same.
Yeah, it's an odd one for sure. And I think what's also interesting too is I've been reading some reports yesterday suggesting that they're going to make Chevron fight for this contract against like VTOL, right?
Yeah,
So it's like it's not going to be guaranteed. But yeah, you're like you said, I'm kind of curious as to what their qualifications are going to be or what they really want to see from people today. I'm not sure if this is going to be televised. I'll have to check quickly on the schedule. But sometimes even if it says it's not televised, it can be. So this is kind of not a be-all, end-all. This is on Friday. This will be, it looks like it's going to be on camera. It doesn't say closed press. So we could get some insight on this, which I also think can help for those who are trading oil and trading these oil companies get a sense of how things are going to progress going forward.
I was going to say, given the magnitude on the global scale of this entire situation,
better be televised.
Of course it's going to be on camera.
Yeah.
Speaking of China, we'll just jump right over that and talk about China here. XPeng, interesting move here this morning. Initially downside. I mean, it was negative over in Hong Kong, I saw. The company coming out today saying they're going to rebrand and want to be seen as a quote-unquote physical AI company, not just a car maker. So think autonomous ride sharing, think robots, think Tesla, but the China version, I guess. But XPeng has been by far the most successful. I mean, had a pretty good year last year. By far the most successful EV company, specifically in China over the past 12 months or so. Now saying, you know, let's move into the robotics, let's move into the AI side.
Well, I mean, they were kind of already doing that, a little bit of that pivot anyway, so this isn't that shocking, but I really want to highlight the wording here, physical AI, because we've heard this term before. Earlier this week, ARM came out and they said they're restructuring their unit, including a brand new physical AI unit. So the fact that we have two stories within a week here, within like literally a couple days, with this physical AI headline, I think that's definitely going to be a term to watch out for in 2026 with these companies. I mean, I think they're all going to have slightly different definitions of it, but I think as we get the robotics push, which we still had at CES this year, as we get, again, ARM and now XPeng with this physical AI, I think maybe watch out to see different interpretations of what this means and what this is going to mean for the market, but also these individual stocks.
I just saw an article posted. I can't remember which website it was. I'll double check, but it was all about the robots, the humanoid robots that have been at CES this week long and kind of outline every single one of them. So there's a lot, and it looks like XPeng is going to jump into that. I mean, we have to really, I guess, define physical AI going forward.
That's my concern.
Yeah, it seems like a very vague term. Also on the China front, the information just reporting DeepSeek is going to release their next flagship AI model, which is version 4. Saying that it has much, much stronger coding ability. So a couple of different China angles there, guys. But XPeng, pretty good stock last year.
Yes, sir. And we were just, first of all, you got to show the well, XPeng has a couple of robots. I felt like you guys should have shown it. So I'm just going to throw this up here.
Thank you.
This is one of them. Ooh, thank you, Randy. This is one of, I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to guess. All right. I'm not, I can smell it. It's going to be like an egg sandwich.
Yes. See, the thing is, I already had my breakfast this morning. Joe, would you like?
Obi rolls in here with like a loaded croissant breakfast sandwich from Tim Hortons, already, yeah. Which was like he opens it up. He's like, yeah. He apologized in advance. He's like, I'm sorry. This is gonna smell really good.
Yes.
And we're just sort of chatting and like looking at the markets or whatever. And like 90 seconds later, I'm just like, oh my! Once it hit me, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't eat for another 20 minutes.
The croissant sandwiches, they're just like, oh.
Yes,
real
this is
good.
Not a croissant sandwich. It's like, oh, there's bacon, egg, and cheese. It's pretty basic. I'll try my best not to eat that on camera for you guys, but gotta eat. I know, it's just...
This is XPeng's robot?
No, this is one of them. They do have like, there is like another one like that looks very different, but...
is there a male version?
I mean,
yeah. Now I guess we're...
Oh, there is. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can find a different image. Here, there's this as well. There's also this, which I suppose is like the nuts. That would be like, I guess, the bare bones, and then they can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
But like, it's just wild to me that they all look the same.
Yeah.
Like the basic, like where's the imagination? Why do they all have to look like the movie?
I get it, but like that one's pretty imaginative, the one with the purple face and other assets.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's a little.
That's definitely a marketing ploy. I would say so. Like why you got to give like some sort of feature, like those unnecessary features to a robot? I don't know. Just maybe is it making? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
But what is interesting is that look,
it's Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, exactly.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
Of course, you said other assets. The chat's gonna have you guys are probably already having a field day with that comment.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, robotics is going to be it's a major theme already.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, like a stock that gets a little bit boring and is not doing much, and then one day this is going to break $20.75, and then we're going to be like, oh my God, look at XPeng. And like it's low vol, like the volume decreasing as it hangs out in this range, just begging for a little bit of a break. And I think like the day it breaks, you can get like 5% out of it right quick. I just don't know what the catalyst is going to be here for like next for XPeng, but it's definitely starting to show some signs of accumulation, in the between 20 and 21. So I think it's worth kind of being on your side radar. Chinese stocks give you a long-term risk, but sometimes these short-term moves can be fantastic. Like what I would point to is you could probably see in the middle of the chart. See what happened at the 50 period here? Like it just sat around there, very boring on absurdly low volume. And then you got this breakout, and then look how good the break was technically. So it's starting to do something similar at the 200-period moving average. And if it does something the same, like you get that break, you start looking for the structure long. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that kind of a setup. Just you have to wait for this day to start confirming that you're getting a move, and then I think XPeng gets very interesting. I don't think that XPeng will be on the options list as we slide on over to Joe, but I do know a few things that'll be on there because Joe was dropping some hints last night for us after we finished the afternoon show.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Yes, a lot of activity once again in the options world, so let's get right into it, guys. We have APLD at the top of the list. Reporting Wednesday after the bell. Volume relatively high and open interest as well too, guys. So 13.3 thousand current open contracts with 18.1 open and closed on the intraday session. But that is going to be expiring next Friday. At that specific zone, yes, the $35 mark, surprisingly so, in APLD, bid and ask relatively tight. But the at-the-money IV, considering after reporting earnings, you're going to see that increase in implied volatility. We're sitting around 103.9%. Considering it's an out-the-money contract, the delta 0.274. So every $1 change in APLD, you're going to see the change within the contract to likes of $27, and your gamma around 50 cents. Now, as for some of the other options activity, yes, going across the board and asking the folks what they wanted to see, XOM making the list, and ONDS, another mover yesterday, guys, at that $14 level, sitting around 26,600 contracts still open. Once again, expiring next Friday, volume 24,500. And then we have XOM, the energy sector, moving substantially and as a collective unit. So we wanted to take a look at what we had going on here because we find that it can be relatively choppy at times. But yesterday, that was not the case. As for the open interest, this is going to be the largest amount that I've personally seen here on XOM. 49,500 contracts. Neil still currently open. That was Neil's pick from yesterday, with volume of open and closed contracts around 6,730. And that is going to be at that $125 level. So keep an eye out on that zone, guys. That open interest can work in many, many ways. It's our job to look how the price action reacts around those specific zones. Now, as for Apple, guys, at that $270 level, 26,700 contracts still currently open, expiring today with volume around 13,800. We'll be back momentarily with some upgrades and downgrades.
Thank you, Joe. And if you're wondering, well, you know, Oxy moved more than XOM, and CVX has been the better trade, possibly in terms of movement, probably in terms of movement recently. But if you look at XOM and 125, this is a monthly chart. On the monthly chart, like 120 to 125 has been a huge rejection. Like we basically, like right now, just even being here and holding above 120, now all you have is wick tops. Like this is a pretty big and important move that the stock is trying to make. And obviously, like a lot of you are going to get the Venezuela bump and then coming back underneath. But any regain of the 125 is absolutely massive. And the month that this closes above, you're looking at a breakout. But going into it, all you're doing is dip buying the 50-period moving average on XOM. Where's Randy? Like he'd be salivating over this. Dip by the 50-period and then hold into this breakout that looks like it's looming here on ExxonMobil. So throw out all the other stuff aside. Just the technical setup here looks fantastic. I think this is one that you're buying the heavy dips into the 50-period. It's unlike CVX where you're buying a support level at 140 lately. You're buying clearly the 50-period on the daily and then just looking for this sucker to hold that 125. And once it does, moon time for XOM.
Yeah, I like that Tesla look there, Neil, because we've been holding a bit of resistance this week. Coming in on Monday, yeah, a little bit of a bid, but strong flush on Tuesday. Those 430s look kind of interesting here as well, because that was that Tuesday day low. We kind of wicked that prior day as well with a little bit of selling pressure, but we could not get through. Or as of right now, can't get through this 438. Let's see if that can potentially come in. Those 430s potentially I'm watching as well, because again, bigger picture, bit of a downtrend since we failed to push through that 500 after a strong bid all the way up into it. That bid came all the way from a little bit of a double bottom from 380. So we went from 380s over the course of a few weeks all the way up to 500, almost 500, 489.83s. But since then, we've been taking a bit of a pullback here. So the question becomes, I'm asking, can we pull back into some of those prior levels? And yeah, some of those options, chains around 430 definitely are looking pretty interesting, I think so.
Exactly. But remember, everybody, it's not just about what we find interesting or what's on the free watch list or maybe what's in our trade plans or on Joey option segment. Upcoming, we'll also see upgrades and downgrades. It's also about what you guys are interested in. That's why we've got the visualizer here, and I see a great job there. Almost everybody in the chat is throwing those dollar signs in, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, you got to be in the chat. And to be in the chat, you have to hit the subscribe button. It's the subs-only chat, so hit that subscribe right now. Hop on in, and if you see a name that's moving or you're interested in, you just type $, SMR, Open, OKLO, and that's what it's about. So we can see what is leading the charge right now. Pun not intended, because OKLO and plug. Is plug in power. SMR starts taking it, and see when something pops up like there, it gets like I think it's like 5 in a row. I have to ask Fabian, or I can just do it because I think I can make OKLO. Oh no, Oh no, it's NVIDIA now. Well, you click on it, you can see.
Oh wow, you can see the chart and everything.
Yeah, you can see the chart and
Okay.
everything, and
nice.
If you hit H, you can make it do that. VST is going to be there. Open makes sense. Plug's the only one. Is Plug even in play? Sometimes I feel like we'll see things on the you guys will be asking about them, or someone will bring it up because. Yeah, like they really care about the stock, but nothing is actually happening. I feel like that's the case with Plug Power today, and I feel like that is confirmed because OKLO, obviously we talked about the meta deal with OKLO and Vistra. That's why they're going to be there. NVIDIA, possibly seeing some traction with it. I mean, traction's probably the right word. In terms of getting their chips into China, that hasn't mattered, had a very rough day yesterday. It's always going to be up there. The one name I don't see right now, usually, Tesla is near the top of the board, and that is not on the list. I see Tilray, I see Broadcom, I see Silver, but not as much interest in Tesla here today. But just goes to show, like this feels like a day where it's broadening interest. As opposed to when you have that more constrained or confined look at the sector that might be moving. Tech wasn't very strong yesterday, so you got to be looking a little bit elsewhere for sure. I saw you put in there SMR.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at like all of these. Like we talked about all those daily breakouts. Yeah, I think I like uranium. I was trading some U with 4 U's a few days ago, and that's coming back up into some prior levels.
Done the dance
as well.
No?
Watch me, you.
Yeah, there we go.
Crank that soldier going. All right, 1999 is the high of the day today, and I think what was it? I was trying to. I think I might have tried to short it at some point on Wednesday or Tuesday, or maybe it was sometime last week. I don't quite remember, but yeah, definitely a bit of an uptrend. Here, strong selling prior day, and then we're wiping right back above some of those prior days levels. So looking at this on the daily or even the weekly, you can see how it's been moving. It's already had this bit of a run up here, pushing up into prior levels. So let's see if we can break this 1957, which is the current daily high of the week intraday session, with relative to the intraday session. So we'll see if that one kind of breaks. But I do like SMR. The best here, not only because of this daily breakout, but just because of how it's setting up in the pre-market, a little bit of higher highs and higher lows. I like this kind of consolidation. Now, when you compare this to something like an OKLO, now this SMR is actually doing more volume, 5.26 million shares traded. Now, of course, we're talking about dollar volume. I think they're around the same. Just by eyeballing it, they might be slightly different. But OKLO has done about 2.2 million. And you can see here, we've already hit 21s. We've already kind of broken that prior daily high. So going up to the daily. So the prior daily high was 114s. We've already gone to 121s all the way up here and pulled back in on some volume. So I am going to be watching OKLO, but SMR seems like it's poised for more of a breakout. And then Neil was also pointing out the daily breakout on Oxy. I really like this. Take a look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Not only is it a daily breakout that was attempted yesterday and pulled right back into the high of the range, it was also a monthly breakout, because you can see that was the high of the month. Maybe not the high of the month in all of October, but definitely the high of the month in November and December as well. Now coming into January, we are trying to take a bit of a turn, maybe with some of the oil names moving around as well. But yeah, I guess CVX, the last one, did buy, man.
Yeah,
We're saying that.
Just didn't dip far enough.
Yeah, it didn't go all the way back down, but this was quite nice as well. I guess some of these other stocks in play, we still have to keep a watch on some of the defense stocks as well, and we'll cover those right after we get back from Brendo.
All right, we'll come back to get a look at what the reaction is here for the market, but just crossed over a minute to go here before the December non-farm payrolls number to come. Again, just to recap, I've seen as high as 60,000 on the expectation here, 60 here on the consensus, 45 the forecast, 64 was the last print. Again, December non-farm payrolls coming through this morning for anyone just joining. 4.6% on the unemployment rate expected on this. Still about 30 seconds here. Whole bunch of other data to come as well, including September and October building permits, housing starts, building permits on the month-over-month number, and then same story September and October down here on the month-over-month number. Participation rate could be interesting here. This was downside slightly the last time in the employment data. We'll also touch on government payrolls, non-farm payrolls on the private side. And then coming up at 10 o'clock this morning, we'll get Michigan consumer sentiment as well. So a couple more, there it is, 4.4%. So a nice downtick on the unemployment rate, comes in 50,000. So 50,000 on the December NFP print, a little bit lighter than expected. Again, depending on where you were looking, there was expectations from 45 all the way up to 60. So it comes in, again, exactly 50,000. Average earnings year over year, 3.8%. A little bit of an uptick there versus 3.5%. Private payrolls, 37,000 versus 69,000. Guys, you want to touch on the market reaction here?
So far, nice bump here in both the ES and the Nasdaq. I mean, we'll get about $1 here out of the Qs as we got 0.4% from about quarter on the upside. So there was some mixed action. I was looking over just there because if you looked at hourly wages, it did seem like it's not all huge, but let's be real. At the end of the day, I kind of feel like a few things are going to be true about jobs this year. Is you're going to have this period for the next few months where we're almost like letting the data catch up and then trying to digest like how much credence we want to put to it. And I think we've been seeing that with the pushback to this current potential hike. We're not going to get one. It doesn't seem like in January. We're kind of pushing out a couple of weeks. But if the market's going to continue to show this much strength, I think we're kind of like we're headed toward a scenario where we're looking at potentially a couple of cuts this year into what seems like still a bull market. And everyone's like, yeah, but the market's high. Why do you need to cut rates? Why? Because the job market's not perfect, certainly. The GDP number looked great, but again, that was a lot of it, the trade balance, when we got that big GDP number. So you still have a kind of teetering job market. It's not terrible. There's some signs of strength, but it's enough that the market's holding up and kind of staying on course. But I'm not overreacting to this up move at all. We got $1 back in the Qs, and we're right back to where we started, actually.
A little bit of a pop and drop right there. So, yeah, initial reaction was definitely, I guess, got bid up. But you can see here both futures, strong top wick here on the 15-minute candle with still, about 12 minutes left for it to go there. So, yeah, nothing too crazy yet. We'll see how the rest of the day kind of digests some of these numbers there. But, yeah, interesting nonetheless here on the day. What else were we going to talk about? Okay, we got some, okay, those are the numbers right there on the screen. 50K actual versus 64K previous.
Yeah,
and the estimate was 70, so the estimate was actually higher.
Participation rate was slightly down. Average weekly hours was slightly down. And average hourly earnings was up. So it's like you have this like offsetting, like nothing burger. In my opinion, like that's kind of what I'm saying, which is probably why we're right back to where we are. Like just look at the week on the futures. It should, like, okay, I'm looking at the Nasdaq here. Let's look at the ES. People always say, don't say the market when you're talking about the Nasdaq. You should really look at the ES for that. So just for now, we'll look at the ES, which has been much stronger. But if you look at this week, and obviously Friday was the start of the year, but just if you look at this week, it was a slight grind higher and then just complete like chop the last 2 days. Kind of strong chop, but it's still chop on the ES the last couple of sessions. The real movement was in the early part of the week, and then we've been chilling out. It's very much individual names that you got to watch. Let's go back up to the desk for more with Brendan.
All right, we have Michael Noss standing by here, so let's just do a quick recap, and we'll get to him on some technicals. So here we go, starting at the top here. Building permits, excuse me, September and October, basically the same here, 1.415 in September, 1.412. In October, housing starts pretty much the same, 1.2, 1.3, both on the green side. That's the headline number right there this morning. Again, if you're just joining, 50,000. If you're just joining, we start at 8 o'clock now. Remember, come at 8, and then we'll get this every single time it comes out. 45,000 was the forecast. 60, the estimate across the board. Prior was 56,000. So decent print there, 50,000. Market, yeah, kind of shrugging it off at this point. 4.4%. So a nice downtick once again on the unemployment side of things. The forecast 4.6%. Hourly earnings month over month 0.3%, 3.8% year over year. both to the upside. Private payrolls as well to the upside, 37,000. The consensus, however, 64,000 there, so a little bit of a miss. Just keep in mind, coming up at 10 o'clock, we'll get University of Michigan sentiment, more inflation data there.
I find sometimes that's the one that moves the market a bit more. Excuse me. I think, and part of that is because we do have that inflation part of that print. So it's like the 1-year and 5-year inflation expectations. So keep an eye on that. You guys know I will give that to you with some quick analysis right at 10 a.m. I do want to mention as well here, here's just like a quick kind of recap of all of the data we got at 8:30 a.m. This is going to go on X at TTV Research right now, just with an update of how everything compares to the estimate and to the prior print. But as Neil said, Brendan, it kind of feels all like a wash. We have some stuff that's a bit better, some stuff that's a bit worse, some stuff that's exactly as expected. So mixed bag. Let's see if you, Mish, at 10 provides us with a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, just seeing a couple of analysts with comments here pointing to the fact that this is probably soft enough to keep rate cut hopes alive, but also on the same sense, strong enough to keep the recession comments in the back for the time being. So as mentioned, let's bring in Michael Noss here on a Friday morning and talk a little bit about the word rotation has once again come back to the forefront and back to the beginning. Hey, there's Neil. Back to the top of mind here a little bit. When it comes to the end of last year, and then, I don't know, where, hey, Michael Noss, and I'm over there, there we go. When it comes to the end of last year and then coming into this year, we saw not only the Dow get to record highs, we saw the S&P get to record highs. We saw the Nasdaq, however, Michael Noss, struggling a little bit to keep up with both of those for the first time in a long time. And I'll call myself out here, I even caught myself a couple of times over the last couple of days even going to the Nasdaq first, when maybe we should actually be looking at the S&P and talking about the Dow a little bit more here. For the first time in a long time, but you're going to tell us why, maybe what's under the hood.
Yeah, talk about a long time. I can't remember the last time you could say that small caps are outperforming the Nasdaq, but it's interesting. And I remember, not to my own horn too much, but we talked about in my whole seasonality rant that seemed to go on for a month, talked about this January effect. And it's supposed to be that small caps outperform large caps. And we talked about the idea behind that was very simply that we have this tax loss selling that goes into the end of the year. Small caps are usually the ones getting sold because they're small caps for a reason. They generally underperform. And then surging into the beginning of the year, you get this small cap rally, but it's only supposed to be like 1.5 or 2% outperformance. But when I looked yesterday, we had the Qs down nearly 1%, and then we had the IWM up nearly 1% at one point. So there seems to be something going on under the hood. So I brought some ratio charts where we can try to maybe pair this out just a little bit. So this first chart, these are all ratio charts. So this is a CMT thing us nerds love to do, where instead of just taking Apple and comparing Apple to the US dollar, which is essentially what you're doing if you just bring up a chart of Apple, you're comparing one security, or in this case, one index to another. So you're saying, okay, is IWM outperforming or underperforming the Nasdaq? All these charts are essentially year to date, so for the first couple days of the year anyway. So this is IWM, which is small caps, versus the Qs, which is Nasdaq. And this really goes to show the pretty insane outperformance that we've been seeing here, where if this line goes up, essentially IWM is outperforming QQQ. If you zoom out on this chart, it is not good, right? The Qs for years and years and years have been just beating the pants off IWM, but this is a pretty swift reversal. So we are seeing, again, these small caps beat the pants off a lot of these larger caps or mega caps. And, some of these charts might help illuminate what's going on under the hood. The next one here is one that I always look at for just overall health and strength. And we're not looking for clean trends on this. We're just looking for general line direction. So this is RSPD versus RSPS. A lot of technicians love this for general health in the market because RSPD is discretionary. So think of people buying things that they don't really need to buy. And then RSPS is equal weight version of consumer staples, which is but people buying things that they need to. So in scarier markets, or if people are getting a little bit of risk off behavior, this line will point down, because the stocks that Campbell Soups and General Mills and Coca-Cola will be doing better, where Tesla and Amazon and these things will be doing worse. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing a nice good outperformance when it comes to this ratio. So it's not like we're entering risk off, because that was my first thing with IWM being so many banks and things. Maybe we're entering a risk off territory. This next chart was another thing that I was thinking, oh, maybe we're moving from the big semiconductor makers, maybe money's flowing out of those and into other places. And this is a chart I'm going to have on watch, I know, all year. I had it on watch last year. So this is SMH, which is semiconductors, versus IGV, which is software. So the idea is at some point, you're going to get this, hopefully, all of this CapEx spending and this AI semiconductor build out is going to trickle down to these software companies that are going to then be able to use AI to make their software better and see that rolling around as well. But you're not seeing that either. You're seeing semiconductors still outpacing software, and pretty handily. It's been choppy for a few days, but right off the bat, pretty handily. But this last chart, I think, is probably the one that's telling the story and creates a very interesting story as well. So this is MAGS, which is a Mag 7 ETF. It just holds all the Mag 7, your Apples and your NVIDIAs and all these guys, versus RSP, which is your equal weighted S&P 500. So this is a very simple way that traders can look at what is the Mag 7 versus the other 493 stocks in the S&P 500 doing. If this chart is going up, that means the Mag 7 is continuing to outperform the way they have the last few years. Money is flowing into NVIDIA and it's flowing into Tesla and all of these things. If this line is pointing down, it's almost like a potential passing of the torch. So far this year, which isn't, only 3-4 days in, we have seen a relentless selling of this Mag 7 and then a buying of everything else. So this is the best chart that I can see to kind of show what's going on under the hood. This rotation of, and the reason we do this in ratio charts is because not like NVIDIA's or Amazon or any of these things are getting killed, right? They're doing just fine. It's the fact that they're on a relative basis now underperforming the overall market. So more than we've seen kind of last year, more than we've seen, I'd say, in the last 2 years, this rotation is kind of showing its head. So this is a good kind of chart to just put on your screen and keep an eye on it, because if this continues to go down, it means there's other sectors out there that are doing the heavy lifting. They're holding up the S&P 500, and that to me is why we're seeing the Qs underperform. So is this a passing of a baton? Is this something that's going to stick? I don't know, but it's something to watch. And if it is, we got to start thinking about what sectors is it going into, right? I mentioned finance and healthcare a whole bunch, but might be time that we get this kind of passing of the baton, and then we change the name from Mag 7 to, I don't know, whoever else was left. Or you probably still remember when it was FANG back in the day too, don't you, Brendan?
Yeah, based on Facebook, if everyone remembers those days. It's a great concept in that, really, I guess you got to go back to COVID maybe. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That was really the last time we had an obvious change, or coming out of COVID, maybe we had an obvious change in leadership as to what was really driving the market and the engine behind the actual move that was moving the market. From a trading standpoint, from a way we're approaching the actual market, the longer we keep fighting that, and the longer we keep saying, it'll bounce, Apple will bounce, don't worry, it's fine, it's Apple, it's going to bounce. And look, it might, but the longer we keep fighting that, not only are we potentially missing other opportunities that we're not looking at because we're concentrating on what has worked over the past little while here, but how do you approach that shift? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in that mindset of just same old all the time.
Yeah, and it's recency bias, right? People, if you talk to the famous quote for recency bias, it's basically just a bias that says whatever happened most recently has a higher probability of happening again, right? And the idea is that people are going to often be stuck in these names. And it's not that, I think NVIDIA is going to crash and it's going back down to $20 or something like that. Hopefully not, because that would be bad for kind of the entire market. But it could be that these are entering dead money states, which is almost as bad. It would suck to see another double-digit gain in the S&P 500, to see other sectors carry the torch and do very well, and then you're still holding your NVIDIA and your Apple and your Amazon, and these end up just going nowhere. So the way I look at it is that people aren't necessarily dumping NVIDIA. They're just not seeing the opportunity there that they were before. So they're taking their money and they're putting it into other places. So what I do is I'm go under the hood and try to go sector by sector and industry by industry and see what's really outperforming. You know, we saw a great move in defense yesterday with Trump announcing even more defense spending than there was last year, which was already a huge increase in defense spending. You have to find these other areas. And again, doesn't mean you need to sell your NVIDIA if you really like it, but you just need to understand that you could be entering this dead period. I try to remind people that Microsoft only hit an all-time high, I think, back in 2016 after the dot-com bubble. Stocks can go up and they can go down and they can go nowhere. So if this is going to continue, I don't necessarily think it's because of a big crash in the Mag 7. I think it's just that people stop caring and they just shift their attention to whatever's next, robotics, quantum computers, whatever it's going to be. But that's kind of our job to try to figure that out ahead of time.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, it's also, you know, good for the market to see other things coming back into play and other things that are taking over some sort of leadership. To your point on that has done nothing. That's a weekly chart. If we can there, Andre, that's a weekly chart of NVIDIA. So that is August of 2025. So we are basically sitting on that last high that it put in way back in August of 2025. So this thing really hasn't done anything in better part of 6 months here.
Yeah, so it's just it's the bias of people talking about all of this thing. Now, the one major benefit I think here is it should dispel a lot of bubble talk. I remember their bubble talk was crazy for a while there. Everything was a bubble. This was crazy that it was a bubble. That was crazy that it was a bubble. But if you have 6-8 months now of NVIDIA doing nothing. You have a lot of these mega cap spenders doing nothing. You have nice pullbacks in Apple and Meta, and the market didn't fall apart. People are just investing their money in other places in the market. That to me helps dispel the whole bubble fears. Again, I could think it could continue. I came here on Monday and said midterm years are generally speaking the choppiest years that we have in the market. Now, we got to remember that the market right now is mostly the Mag 7. It's a large percentage of the market. So we could have that choppy period of the market, which we're seeing here because of the rotation. But that is unfortunate for people who are just holding the S&P 500. But for us that are, watching shows like this online, we should hopefully still be able to find opportunities. Because if NVIDIA is not doing anything or moving down slightly, the market's not going to go anywhere. But that doesn't mean that healthcare didn't have a nice pop or some regional bank broke out or some weird biotech mergers are taking place. Choppy markets, again, are unfortunate for people who are just holding the index. For us, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity under the hood. We just have to kind of maybe forget the old guard, at least for a little bit.
You mentioned the IWM there, small cap specifically. Is it purely from a technical standpoint? Is there an area of the market that's really just screaming right now that screaming, look at this versus everything else that you're seeing?
Yeah, the two sectors that are the majority of IWM and I think are the most interesting are KRE, which is your regional banks. Those are very interesting for a couple of reasons. A, they're on a nice, clean potential breakout here, and biotechs. And I think both of those might be for an administrative reason, where the last administration seemed to be more anti-mergers and acquisitions. This one seems to be more pro. That could be igniting this a little bit as well, because if you're a early stage biotech, you're generally not going to try to be the next Eli Lilly. You want to get bought by the next Eli Lilly. And same with a lot of these small regional banks. They want to merge, they want to get bought out, they want to do things like that. The other component there could just be interest rates. And both of those things are very interest rate sensitive. We know that whoever is going to be the next Fed chair is going to be someone who is interested in lowering interest rates. So that could be what the market is betting on, is a more merger friendly and a lower rate interest rate environment. Those two sectors are really interesting. XBI, which is the biotech, has already been screaming last year, but it's got a way to go to all-time high. And KRE just looks like it's really, really close to a breakout.
Fascinating theme, I think, going into the remainder of not only this quarter, but into the rest of the year. The interest rate side of things and the the builders, even home builders, a group of stocks we very rarely ever talk about outside of when they might or might not report earnings around here. So anyways, great stuff. Michael Moss, have a great weekend. We'll talk on Monday.
Have a good weekend. See you Monday.
All right, guys, welcome back, and fantastic stuff from Mr. Noss. As always, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to start with some of the downgrades. And once again, at the top of the list, we have Adobe by BMO Capital getting its price target lowered to $375, going from an outperform to a market perform. And then we have Mattel, the toy maker, with a $21 price target, but going from a buy to a neutral weight. You're down 1.76% here this morning. Now, as for Plug Power, guys, going from a buy to a hold, no specific target on this one, but you're still slightly positive even with a downgrade by TD Cowen. That is Plug. Now, iHeartRadio down 5.7% here this morning. Price target being lowered from $4 to $3.50 by Goldman Sachs, but also going from a neutral to a sell rating there, guys. Now, as for some of the upgrades, let's take a look. It looks like the airlines are getting the nod here, guys. American Airlines getting the nod here. AAL, you're up 1.14% here this morning, and the price target, no specific one. We're going from a neutral to a positive, no specific level on there. Cleveland Cliffs getting the nod as well. Two guys, $17 price target by Morgan Stanley, going from an equal weight to an overweight rating. And once again, you're up 2.5%. Now, as for an additional airline company, Southwest getting the nod, a substantial increase, $36 to $60 by JP Morgan and Chase, and going from an underweight to an overweight rating. And then we have Marriott International going from $285 to $370. That's another big increase. And then going from market perform to outperform. But also what I want to touch on, some of the individuals that didn't make the list and are worth noting, LMT getting the upgrade, the guys, UPS and FedEx also getting upgrades with price target increases.
Those upgrades and downgrades and our segment with Michael, as always, a fantastic one brought to you by PDS Biotechnology. There, everybody, it's PDSB. You can find them on the Nasdaq. That's the ticker. And they're transforming the immune system targets and fights cancer with initial focuses on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancer. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the US in a few years. You can learn more at www.pdsbiotech.com. Check the link in the description and a shout out to them. Find them on the Nasdaq, PDSB. Those upgrades and downgrades, it's kind of funny. I know you're going to pivot to another stock, but we kind of looked at the same one
at the same
initially
time,
on those upgrades and downgrades. And it was Southwest.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk about iHeart.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, the iHeart with the downgrade. You're just like the radio. I know they have an app.
Okay, we can get to love for a sec. Yeah, because I didn't even realize this was a. Do you know this
a stock?
A stock? I didn't know.
Like I've heard of IHRT. Like it's had moves in the past, but it's just like I mean, good on them. They're still trending in a environment where maybe people are not listening to as much radio as before. But I'm sure they're still healthy because aren't they on Sirius XM or something?
You know what? I'm not even gonna. I don't know enough. I was just surprised. I'm like, I didn't really even know that it was still a stock, that's bad on me apparently. But if you knew that it's been trending for the last year off $1, congratulations. But like the first thing I saw was, yeah, but look at that. It's breaking the trend as we speak. It's not doing any volume, so there's no trade there. It just kind of. I didn't know they were still there. Whoops. I didn't want. See, muscle memory is unbelievable.
What did you type?
I just instantly, so I'm like, okay, let's go back to talk about Southwest.
Yeah.
The second I type an L to put a symbol in my thing, my body just goes lily. Because it's a stock I own. It just, I'm more apt to look at it, whereas I'm not looking at Southwest very often. It is insane how often this happens to me.
That happens with M for me. Whenever I type in anything with an M, I just go MSFT. It just boom, boom. Yeah, it just goes.
Idea. Trust me, you guys, the trader problems like 101 right there. It's completely insane how often I do that. Like you guys would be talking about a certain name, and like I haven't really seen it before, and based on the letter that it starts with, I'll just start typing a regular symbol that I know. But Southwest, they're catching the upgrade. Big breakout. Consolidation, and we've talked about this before. If you have a consolidation, don't consider it boring or don't consider it bad when you're following an up move like this, right? Because it didn't, like, this is a topping tail at 43, and then it pulls back pretty decently and then proceeds to consolidate. The fact that it never broke down after this to maybe retest some of those highs, that's pretty bullish. And now you got a breakout looming here in Southwest. I think there's so many things that can be deservedly on a watch list. I know once you get past like nuclear names and some of the energy names, and then housing names, and then maybe you like Intel's a chip name, and there's IBIT, and silver is moving a little bit here. There's a lot to try to pack in, so I get it. But for anyone looking at this, just to show you, I guess a weekly's not good enough. Sometimes I think I'm going far enough out. That's not gonna, the monthly chart's gonna be better here. So just to give you an idea of the next gap that Southwest is currently doing, like this potential break that you're seeing, if it holds over 44, there's a lot of room to get in another 10% here, and that's on the monthly chart. So yeah, you have an active breakout happening in Southwest, regardless of the upgrade or downgrade. Pretty sparsely traded so far today, but still a good one. I think we got to go back to the desk for a second before we come back.
I just want to mention, shout out to our friends over at PDSB. Neil, you were talking about PDSB there, just going into this. There was a move on this stock this morning up to 115. And there is a headline to go along with that just came out at 8:45. So one of the reasons we tend to work with companies like this is because they're doing very important work. This company, PDSB, is working on a treatment for head and neck cancer, and they've made some progress, positive progress, with the FDA in regards to a phase 3 trial. The phase 3 trial, potentially phase 3 trial, coming on the back of positive phase 2 data around this drug. Again, which is showing promise for head and neck cancer. So that's the headline this morning for PDSB. There was a news announcement there this morning, sitting at $1 right now, but a little bit of volume and move behind that as well. But shout out to them. Congratulations.
I like that dollar defend. Sure, but I know you have a name up there that, look, we just talked about Southwest.
Yeah.
You have a name up there that I'm pretty sure you don't hear as often on the show as well, but that's a gorgeous looking chart.
Yeah.
If you look away from tech, you can find some winners.
Of course, yeah, no, Joe did mention that there are some upgrades that weren't on that list, and I heard the name FedEx, and I kind of knew where it's sitting at, because again, just daily, it's part of my daily scans. It shows up every now and then, and yeah, beautiful stock here. Strong pullbacks over the past couple of years, but pushing all-time highs with a bit of an upgrade on the day today. Pre-market 313.62s. I have the ultimate high. This is a monthly chart, by the way, 315.40s here on FedEx. Now, I don't know how much the daily volume is, but it's not too bad. It's not necessarily untradeable. Definitely does a few million shares a day. Yeah, 1.68. Yesterday it did 2.5 million shares on the day, doing some relative volume as well. So I'm curious to know, do we get above those prior highs there? Prior day's highs, wow, what a beautiful reversion on the day as well. Prior day makes sense why it kind of did a lot of volume there, but wiping right back up to the high. So I do like that. And some of you in the chat were asking about Tilray. So let's take a quick look at Tilray. Yes, so Tilray had earnings. Wow, see, I totally missed this. Tilray had earnings today, or overnight, and it's up about 12% to the highs there at 10:45. Maybe a bit of a daily breakout, maybe some downtrend breaks as well. We had that run up at the beginning of December, or mid-December right here, with that push all the way up to 1569s there, but slow and steady bleed out all the way back into $9. Maybe looking for the next leg here, but I like this bit of a bounce here off of $9, Neil, on this name. I know you've been watching this here as well on the daily. What do you feel like?
Yeah, the only thing I don't love about Tilray is I generally don't like being bullish on things that recently reverse split, because I feel that the general overall winning trade on the reverse splits has been to look for the backside. And then
after the post split squeeze.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the post-split squeeze.
Which is exactly what it did, and like it's in the backside of it. So like I kind of feel like usually I want to find the lower high, and then it's just like a short forever. So without there being any specific news in the space, just them getting better revenues, and they're still losing money, right? Like I think almost looking for a fade. Like when I wrote down, so I do like a couple of things in my prep. I'm gonna unplug. I don't know why I always leave this plugged in. I always start with like my iPad, which this is like the oldest piece of whatever. It's like as about as old as can be. And I start with, like I'll have like the core symbols in there, and it's gonna be really hard to see here. See the top? I always have this Mag 7 on there. There's nothing written next to any of the Mag 7 names today. Because like none of them are in play for me today. Then you'll have like the chip names, and I think I have like levels and stuff written down for Intel. And then look at the bottom, it'll usually be the stuff that's new in play, like if earnings or whatever. And like basically I have notes on all of that. Yep. Because that's more interesting to me. Tilray's on there, but I essentially, like I was like, I look at it at 11 for potential like short opportunity. Like I'm kind of more thinking start a short or look for a short at 11, and it's more of a back idea because it does look bullish. It looks like a breakout on the daily, so it feels bullish to me, but because this type of stock I favor short, I'll be like, oh, well, I'll wait for a short to set up, maybe starting at 11, but because it looks strong, I'm not going to put it on my main list. It'll be more like a back burner idea. Then I'll come back to. Like oftentimes you'll see me look, Obi might be talking or Sean might be talking, and I'm looking up my chart, or I'm doing this, and I'm just refreshing, going back through to remember all of the names and all the levels, so that when another thing sets up, when one thing's not working, I can quickly jump over and say, well, is this setting up the way that I want it to? If SMR is not giving me the juice, which right now it's not, easily tell, yeah, right. I just looked over. I'm like, yeah, SMR is back underneath 22. It's going to be important to see if it can hold 21.5. So it's losing a bit of the long structure. So I'm going to have to pivot to another nuclear name that I'm watching today. You just have to be able to do that, I think, like whatever works for you. Like I'm very much, I want to find something that has a good setup on the higher time frame that can be a trend all day kind of trade. Now, whether that's a false break of the high or just hold the low and then start going from VWAP is another trade that I like. If that isn't setting up on a stock that I like, I'm not going to just keep trading that stock. And then to each, like everyone's going to be a little bit different. But if I see it not doing the thing I expect, I got to move to something else. And then so I'll have a longer list of things that are on the list. Like I might only have 4 things on the note that I post, but I have at least 6 or 7 other symbols that I am watching, and you'll usually see me trade those as well.
For sure, I definitely agree with you there. Like I have usually, you guys have seen my splay that I usually have open. I have about 8 stocks on there right now. A lot of them we've already talked about, but some of them we haven't. So we can go through all of them real quick. I got OKLO, I got Vista, I got NewScale SMR, I got XLV as well, right? Intel had some news as well. After hours, we heard that the president was talking to the CEO, Chevron, Oxy, and RKT as well. Now, that's alongside the whole chip sector, which I have my own kind of basket for the chips, and that's also alongside the Mag 7. So like I'm kind of cycling through these, adding and removing names as we go, because again, where is the next trade? How do you kind of answer that question? It's like a lot of it is just sitting on your hands, waiting for things to do what you're looking for, and then going with the plan there as well. But yeah, no, we'll tackle that as the day goes on.
You said it the best there. Sometimes it's waiting for the next opportunity. If a stock is not doing what you want, then you shouldn't be trading it. One place that you can start, which is easy to do, and it's free, by the way, is our daily watch list, which we go over right about now. So let's get onto the desk. We're getting on time, past 9 o'clock. We'll start out by looking at the names on our watch list created by Adara.
Not a heck of a lot as far as individual news catalysts today, but we will touch on why the overall market could be moving as well. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you grab that. Again, link is below in the description of this video. Top link will get you to the sign up page for said watch list that, yes, has absolutely everything on it that you need to know every single day. Then come join us at 8 o'clock. Now, not 8:30 anymore, 8 a.m. we start. Let's touch on the biggest mover of the day here to kick things off, as you guys were just talking about. This OKLO, VST we can look at, as well as Obi was mentioning there, also included in this absolute monster move here. VST better part of $25 to the upside at this point so far this morning. Going to potentially provide some power here for Meta.
Yeah, I mean, VST and OKLO here, both of these deals. So for Vistra's part, Meta's going to be purchasing 2,176 megawatts of nuclear energy from their Perry and Davis Bess plants in Ohio. There's an additional 433 megawatts here of capacity from uprates at this location. Notably, apparently 15% or more of this contracted capacity represents new generation that's been added to the grid. Then with regards to OKLO, this agreement's going to involve a 1.2 gigawatt advanced nuclear power campus in southern Ohio. So they're focused here in Ohio. The VST deal also mentions Pennsylvania. In terms of stocks to watch, as Brendan mentioned, VST, a great one to look at, but Constellation Energy also moving on this. They are a competitor to VST. They have the 3 Mile Island deal with MSFT. So there's other plays for this as well. SMR also got an unrelated upgrade. So there's this whole space is really strong.
Yeah, Meta is moving around a little bit here this morning as well. Not a heck of a lot in comparison to those two, but worth noting a little bit of relative strength here versus, the rest of tech at this point, guys.
Yeah, So, it's a nothing burger for Meta. We'll get Meta out of the way here just because, look, it's doing, you could probably put up the tape of what I said yesterday and it's still the same thing and it's not looking good for Meta. It's riding downside the 50-period simple moving average on the daily. All you're doing is holding on to this level every single day while rejecting the 200-period moving average. So it's almost like it's doing that while the 200 flattens out here. So there's really nothing to see. You're not even getting productive bounces off of that 50 period lately. You've had one recently, and then that's about it. So you got to look at the other names here now. OKLO, this is a clean break, but it's already, like, you've already seen this gap. So forget about the 100. If you see 100 today, then some things have seriously gone wrong. We got other fish to fry, and hopefully you're not trying to buy a dip if that happens. But we have seen that. Think about like Palantir when it was gapped up yesterday. So the 112 level, which I was just here, I was pointing it out, but I didn't say it. So this area 112, the prior high, going back into the early December, that's going to be key. Well, I want to see that hold. It's held once, but you're very much sideways. So this is like gapped up 18% with a condensing range and lower highs in a pre-market. It's going to have to convince me that we're holding the 112, especially on a Friday. That matters even more because sometimes you get those early rinse outs, and then you can start going. So it's not that we have OKLO and then we have the nuclear trade. So maybe I'll save SMR for a minute from now. But no, I think you have to look at I do think you have to look at the entire group. Like if OKLO's not holding 112, but SMR is holding 22, then guess where I'm going to go? Like I don't mind either. In fact, I put both of them on my note. And with that same thing, I'm going to look for that false break of the low for that trend up trade. But if SMR does it, if SMR doesn't do it, I don't mind going over to OKLO and vice versa. So I'm pretty ambiguous between the two. Vistra, I don't know. This one I didn't see for a trade. It's not as liquid of a stock. It looks gorgeous on the daily chart. I feel like this is setting up more like a swing trade if it holds these major moving averages on the week than a day trade. So my take would be that Vistra looks pretty solid for a swing if it holds 175 today. But the other two I'd rather trade.
Yeah, I'm watching all three of those names here, Neil, but I think the main thing we need to focus on is that Meta made a deal with Vistra, and the rest of them are just moving as a sympathy. You can see already, like NewScale is kind of pulled back into its VWAP. VWAP has been holding on NewScale, on SMR. OKLO VWAP's holding as well, but Vistra is the one that's catching the bid. It has some of the most relative volume as well. So I'm going to be watching. Yeah, I like that 175 hold as well. You can see just prior day's high all the way from December 17th. There's a bit of a wiki action here into 180s, more resistance into the 180s. So the question I'm going to ask myself is that, am I going to have any sort of opportunity on the day today going into a shorter time frame, being like, okay, if we do pull back, am I going to get the opportunity to take some inventory at places to buy with reasons to buy into 180? That's the idea here on Vistra that I have. Let's see if it pans out. I don't know which way it's going to go off of the open, but I would like to take some inventory into and through 180 ideally. But if this is all she wrote, we already made a pretty significant move here, about a almost 17.2% move here on VST, gapping up into some prior resistance in and around 180. So the 180 is going to be interesting. I do want to participate if we get above it and hold it with any sort of distinction. But we'll see what happens. Vistra Corp and Meta and the nuclear names moving alongside as well.
I'm going to make a switch on the fly here and disappoint Neil. I mean, it's the same story. It's the news is the news. So, I mean, yeah, SMR, the rest of the group, all moving around here as far as the nuclear play is concerned. Let's talk about some semiconductors here, because I think it's important to keep an eye on these always, let alone on a day when we have, you know, overall market news. So NVIDIA, a little bit of a bounce here to start things off. Intel, I mean, there is a headline on TSM we can touch on as well. NVIDIA with a little bit of a bounce here after a pretty ugly day yesterday, as did most of these have a pretty ugly day yesterday. Do we get a retracement here today? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting here. I didn't see much on this today, or yesterday, but apparently Alibaba reportedly ordering, potentially at least, a massive amount of these NVIDIA H200 chips. Now, whether they'll be allowed to order them is, of course, a question. We know now we're kind of hearing reports that NVIDIA is going to be able to sell these chips to certain companies in China, though China and the US government both don't want NVIDIA touching the government side of things. I can talk about TSM, though. They basically just, as they always do, at the start of the new month, they release their sales data from the prior month. So TSM sales up a little bit over 20% for the month of December, and this comes ahead of their earnings report, because, guys, they report earnings in less than a week on January 15th, so Thursday pre-market.
Yeah, oh, by the way, we're right back into earnings season next week as well, so strap in for that. The semiconductor trade, Neil has rejoined. Neil, I'm sorry to disappoint, but we made a decision, we made a switch there. Let's talk about semis.
Oh, it makes sense, because like we're going to talk about nuclear again that we already said 3 times. No, you did right. Someone actually was like, can you go over the technicals? Like before I got up to go to the bathroom, they're like, can you go over the technicals in NVIDIA? Well, this will be easy. It's not doing anything. That's the technical description for what is happening here. Much like Meta, which before I got up, this is exactly what we were saying, riding the 50, the only bad thing for NVIDIA is you can barely even see it. If I zoom in further, it's losing the 50 period today. It lost it yesterday. So while it's riding that little support line in this consolidation,
look at that range,
unfortunately, like it's losing the bid. So if you zoom out here, like it's lost this bid of support, like 86 to 87, and definite selling in the low, 191, 192, 93 that you can see. So that 50 period that it consolidated on, it started to lose that structure. So if it doesn't, like this, if it doesn't get back above 187, this looks like a short. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know why to, as a matter of fact, remember I said I didn't put any of these things on my list, the Mag 7 name, so I'm just gonna put it on my iPad there. I'm not gonna alter what I'm looking at for the open, but that 187, I'm just gonna throw, if we fail the 187, this looks like a short to me. Specifically on NVIDIA. Intel's at the end of the list. That's the one I'm watching today as a chip name because it has a positive catalyst and is doing something distinctly different. The Nasdaq's 0.29, NVIDIA is 0.34. So yes, it does look like a little bit of a, sell any positivity and fade at that price. It's still only doing exactly what the market's doing, and why Intel's of interest is it's up a couple of points, has been insanely volatile the last 2 days, so you're getting outsized moves in Intel the last 2 days, and it's doing something the market isn't doing, at least for now. And then now all of a sudden the market is reversing a bit here.
Oh yeah,
of course. So
I mean, pop and drop off of those numbers in the morning. I think we kind of saw anytime we have some strong action and then it just gets slammed or stuffed or however you want to call it. I think that's sometimes a signal. Yeah, we kind of observed earlier that the pop did get slapped right back in. But when it comes to chips bouncing, question mark, I'm looking at AMD. AMD has had a pretty red week here. You can see here coming in on Monday, aggressive selling from 234 highs. Next day, same, right off of the open, sellers step in aggressively. Wednesday, sellers step in, not as aggressively as the prior 2 days, but then yesterday as well, sellers step in pretty aggressively. Later end of day price action for pretty much the whole week has been sideways and consolidative, stepping down through prior day's lows almost back-to-back days. So is there going to be a bounce On AMD, I have no idea, but let's see how we end the week off. We're also coming into this area as well, most recently, where, yeah, we did sell off in and around the same area. You can see that supply has been here, 233s all the way down into 200s, 225s all the way down into 200, now 234s all the way down into 206s right now, Neil. So maybe we get down to 202s, maybe we get down to 200s, but this weekly chart on AMD is looking pretty red here, wiping back into the lower end of the range that we've been holding over the past couple of months. And yeah, I like that you mentioned that NVIDIA as well is kind of starting to lose that bid. But take a look at the price action over the past couple of sessions here. You can see clearly that it was stuck in this range, 192s to 193s. There's definitely a little bit of a supply zone, and then 187s. Yeah, 187s in and around there, bit of a demand zone where it keeps on getting bought up. And yesterday was the day we finally broke below that. So yeah, I'm looking for that 187 as well, Neil. That break of range. Let's see if it's a false break of range and buyers step right back in on the day today. And that 187 is definitely going to be a little bit of an inflection point for me.
Like that inflection point. Before we talk about oil stocks, I think we might have, I don't know if we mentioned Novo is going to be up because, well, a couple of things. There's some firm initiated coverage on them, but also Amazon pharmacies announcing the availability of their Wegovy pill. So that's going to give it a bump, 3.5% for Novo. And this just continues the move that has been going on since the pill gave it a bump. And yeah, of course, it's gapping right into the 200-period moving average. Stock is on a recovery, no questions asked there for NVO. But watch out for that 60 level, big, massive level on Novo. Let's talk some oil stocks. Nothing moved more in terms of just program trade yesterday than that group of oil names.
Just a recap first, a few people just joining a little bit late here this morning. Let's just talk about some of these numbers that came out at 8:30 if you missed it again. December non-farm payrolls, 50,000 was the number. Consensus was for 60,045 the forecast. So basically dead center of the road kind of print there for non-farm payrolls. Yes, it was positive, which is good, 4.4%. Nice downtick on the unemployment rate, which did cause a little bit of buying initially. It was a bit of a head fake, though, for the overall market. Again, coming up at 10 o'clock this morning, we'll get Michigan consumer sentiment. That's really the next stop on the economic calendar. Also at 10 o'clock, I saw a couple of people talking about this Supreme Court decision. Again, this is not a guarantee. They may not. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not anything comes of this today. Just keep that in mind. Michigan consumer sentiment, definitely, though, coming at 10 o'clock this morning. Let's touch on some of these oil stocks because, yeah, they could be in play today because they're going to be, executives going to be at the White House today talking about this Venezuela situation.
And that's coming here at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll be here with you guys covering all of that for you. As I mentioned, it is going to be on camera, and I'll certainly be reminding everyone of this throughout the day as well. But basically, yeah, I mean, we're going to have Chevron. I know COP CEO has already confirmed he's going to be there, so ConocoPhillips. I'm getting the sense that ExxonMobil, from what I've seen as well, they're going to be there, and they will be meeting with Trump with regards to Venezuela. And now what we know about the Venezuelan oil situation, we've heard reports apparently they're already trying to prepare to ship some of this oil back here. We know Trump said 30 to 50 million barrels they're going to be having here from Venezuela, but we've also heard some reports that actually could be a lot more oil. So we know oil is going to be like one of the, I guess, the biggest boons or the biggest things to keep an eye on here with regards to the Venezuela situation. It's crazy that started less than a week ago with the capture of Nicolas Maduro, former leader of the country. So we're gonna have to wait and see, I think, what happens in terms of how the market reacts to this. But oil names certainly have been volatile. They've been gapping up, they've been moving lower, and we're gonna have to wait and see how they react today.
Yeah, huge day yesterday for CVX, goes out almost on the highs. We get a nice gap up here this morning. We are fading this back in pretty quick here, guys, though, for Chevron at least.
Yeah, there's some fading going on, but not so much in Oxy. What I think stands out a little bit for Oxy is I buried the lead, is what it is. Because I wanted to show you, I'll show you XOM and CVX, and you'll see the difference that I'm trying to make here. So Oxy was insane yesterday, but look at how that looks on a monthly chart. It's like nothing even happened. I think that gives it a little bit more potential. When you look at yesterday's trade, look at this potential breakaway. If it can, as long as we can hold on to 43, and I even just tweeted this one out, it's not even the 43. It's essentially this zone. If we just hold on to this upper end of the band, so call it this high at 42.75-ish, if we hold on to that, I'm just looking long on Oxy today because I think it has a lot of potential. If it loses it, gap fill, don't fight the stock, because if you lose a level like that, it starts trending down, and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick the bottom. Well, you're just long for like 2% and hoping it bounces. So I don't like that notion. But some of why I like it does have to do with the difference between it and, say, like, look at XOM on a monthly chart, literally breaking out as well, but it's in the top end of that band. And then you look at, say, CVX, maybe not as good, but still distinctly different. Like, it's in the top end of the range and it's looking to break out the top. Whereas, I mean, Oxy's done nothing by comparison. So if it were to go, there's just more room for it to continue. So it's the first one of the group that I'm looking at today. They were all essentially just rocket ships that looked like this yesterday. So you got to pick one to start looking at. And for me, it's going to be Oxy just because it has more potential runway that I can find on the daily chart.
Yeah, I think all of them were running like crazy, but Oxy came onto my watch list because it was really extended compared to the rest of them. It was the overextension was almost I think a decent chunk of its ATR, maybe even a couple like a multiple of it as well. But Chevron, I like Chevron again. One of the ones directly affected by the Venezuela news at the beginning of the week. Coming into the end of the week, we're finally catching a little bit of a bounce. The initial day, we did catch a strong sell after the gap up, filled in that gap, held that gap over Wednesday and Thursday, and then now catching a bit of a bid once again, gapping up above prior day's highs as of right now, above 160s and some change right there. We've made a high of 161.85, pulling back in, kind of giving us that 50% reversion of the strong sell-off that we had on Tuesday. With a little bit lower on Wednesday as well. So I like this look. I'm just going to take this pre-market range here. I'm going to take some of the prior day's levels, such as the close, prior day high, the prior day end of day range low as well, which happens to coincide and confluence with Wednesday's opening area, as well as the initial reaction low or the opening range low of Monday's opening session. So there's a lot of confluence in and around this 160, 159 level. Let's see if we can hold and trek a little bit higher here. Was this a little too far, too fast? I don't know, but I'm gonna be waiting for some of this price action. Yeah, Oxy, of course. And there was another name you were talking about as well, Neil, XOM. XOM looking very, very similar to that in terms of price action. Now we broke below that prior week close on this one, so yeah, it is a little bit different. But since the week has happened, you can see selling reversion on Monday, strong selling on Tuesday, holding some lows on Wednesday and Thursday, and then yesterday we saw a strong and steady grind up on a lot of these names. So I'm asking the question: are we going to get that continuation of that prior day action? Are those buyers not done? Because that was distinct buying. You look at some of those charts on the 5, 15 minute and the 30 minutes, and even the hourlies is just consistent buying, which just shows a lot of demand. Now the question becomes: if we closed at highs, is that buying finished, right? So that maybe looking for the continuation, and if that's not going to be there, maybe we'll trade it just from a price action perspective to the downside. I don't know.
A couple more to go here, but just as an aside, the Nasdaq's now almost given up all the gains from this morning. ES as well, trending back toward flat on the session after our little gap up. So they are reversing the move after the early numbers so far. Let's talk about some of the memory stocks if you want to. Reversing the move. Yeah, a couple of those did that yesterday.
Yeah, everything back downside now in a pretty good way. Just be aware, Hassett speaking currently, White House Senior Advisor Hassett, talking about some Trump decisions, a wide range of different things, but overall the market coming back in anyway, I would think. Here is the what happened yesterday. If you missed it on SNDK, we'll talk about these memory stocks. Pick one. They were all pretty weak right out of the gate yesterday. I mean, it kind of looked like we were trying to recover here so far this morning, but taking a pretty hard right turn now back southbound.
Yeah, the bounce like yesterday afternoon wasn't bad either, at least for SNDK. But I want to talk here about this story. So DigiTimes reporting that apparently SanDisk, their plan is to offer 1 to 3 year NAND supply contracts that basically requiring 100% upfront cash payment. So interesting look there. Apparently this is going to be the goal of this, I guess, to shift price and inventory risk towards customers and off of the company. This does reflect, again, the tightening of the NAND supply. So interesting look here for SNDK. All cash ownership or all cash upfront deals. Kind of interesting look.
If you zoom out 2 days ago, we had that huge move to the upside. This thing came right back into almost exactly to the number 50% retracement, just saying, yesterday, and had a nice bounce. So trying to hold that still around this 340 area for SanDisk, guys. But what a wild ride this has been the past couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, SanDisk.
Wild ride for weeks on end.
I mean, yeah, this has been the wildest ride of all of them for a while. Is this the back end of the trade? We're going to find out. The first day can be telling, but it's not the end of the story. We had a similar thing in November, and then it bounced for a couple of days, and then the bigger follow-through was yet to come. You got to keep that in mind, because I think usually that's how the structure will go. You'll have a first big pullback, and then you'll get a confirmation a couple of days after that, because the last time we did another big one, it immediately bounced off support. So I want to see today. It's going to be huge. And it's exactly that 340 that you just mentioned. That's the only thing, I don't want to say it's the only thing that matters, but that's exactly what matters in here. Opening range yesterday failed at 340 level when it tried to bounce, and then we got a V-shaped recovery. Essentially, as Obi was just saying, a 50% retracement, and it either holds it or it doesn't. If it doesn't, I've got locates that I'm paying for as we speak. So it'll be key. I want to see that first 15 minute, and if we're above, stay away from shorts. If we're below, then I think you're kind of in all systems go, on SanDisk specifically.
Thank you for reminding me. Can I get some of those as well? I'll get the usual order.
Do it right.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Micron and SanDisk are what I'm looking for when it comes to memory stocks. Not only that, I was talking about this on the midday yesterday as well, where I was just like, okay, well, I went online to check for hard drive space, and that sector, that's also moving. So it's all sorts of memory, right? So that's why SanDisk is moving, right? So I want to take a look at not only just RAM, but hard drive stocks as well. So Micron is a memory one, strong sell yesterday, bit of a pullback here. Yeah, roughly 50% retracement happening here as well. SNDK, another one with a 50% retracement of the strong flush from yesterday. Funny enough, this strong leg, about a 50% retracement of that as well. So this price action is absolutely beautiful in the way it's kind of stepping up and kind of digesting this this pressure, this demand, I guess, that we've been having over the past few weeks. And WDC as well, Western Digital, kind of similar in the same sector. Look at that strong selling, got below that strong bid area from Tuesday. So this one I'm watching as well. This one looking slightly different than the rest of them here. SanDisk much stronger, but this one has a bit of a range here, and we've dropped right back up onto the top of this prior multi-week range. Let's see if we can get back into the range here. But yeah, I'm looking for both ways on these. If there's buyers on them, I definitely want to participate. And if there's any sort of structural breakdowns as well, I want to participate in some of those as well. Now, I don't think we need shorts for Western Digital.
I'm pretty sure it's just SNDK.
Yeah, it's just SNDK. I remember, was it last week? Or earlier on this week, I was just like, oh man, this is definitely something I want to get into. I hit it for the short, and I'm like, oh, I need locates for this. And by the time the move had already happened by the time I got them. So it's like you got to be prepared. It's part of preparation in the morning, being like, okay, well, this is part of my plan. And even if I have a long bias, I still want to have inventory. For short inventory, I want to have some shares borrowed just in case.
Exactly, and just in case, Intel's part of your plan. Let's see what the deal is with this name.
It was a true social post, essentially, to that extent, really. President Trump saying that he met with Lip Bhutan or had a conversation with him. There wasn't much detail as to what came from said conversation, and I think that's why we're seeing this thing fade that move that we saw after the close yesterday.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to note, and I said this last week too when Trump basically moved the market on a month-old post about Amazon that he just repurposed. Like, I think it's really important to note that he will just post old things whenever. Like, he'll just get into a jag where he like finds an old article and he'll post it. So always be cautious, because much like what happened with Amazon, this Intel story moved the market. But as Brendan said, the only new thing here is I guess they met up again. We already knew the story with the processors that came out, their Panther Lake chip, on Monday at CES 2026. So Trump resurfacing old news is not a new phenomenon, but I think it is something that as traders definitely be aware of when it's not brand new information, which in this case is not.
Remember, 10 o'clock this morning, we get University of Michigan sentiment that could potentially move the market. We're also going to get potentially a Supreme Court ruling. We'll see if that actually comes through or not. And then oil stocks could be in play as well later on this afternoon. A lot of executives meeting with Trump at the White House also. So a lot to be aware of, and keep an eye out for today, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Lots to go over. And the imbalance is pretty quiet. Nothing over 1 million shares this Friday morning, as you can see. At no point was there anything that was that big, unless you're into Stocks S, OCG, small one. Novo, we talked about, that's a 280,000 imbalance. SMR is in there for 280,000 as well. Oscar, 250, but nothing crazy. Intel, like the rest of the market, is losing the bid. And my note's like, you got to hold on to 42 for it to be a go. And it's underneath, so I might be passing on that one early. Oxy's headed to the upside already as we ring the bell for the last time this week. Right about now, without the cool sound, unfortunately. So good luck, everybody. The first move, at least over on NVIDIA, is to the downside. So, yeah, maybe no test of that 187 that we were just talking about. I do see Occidental, which is looking like what's moving up. Oxy's pressing through the high, so there might not be that dip. I was 42.75. You can't dip into 42.75 if you're breaking out yesterday's high. So Oxy repeating its strong move, at least early. Shoot, Open Door, we didn't talk. Well, okay, the president also boosting some of the housing stocks. And you're going to see Open Door. I was looking for dip and rip on my note. So Open Door up 15% now. This will make Eric Jackson quite happy.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, looking at some of these nuclear names, OKLO pulling back in, breaking down its range there. So we'll wait for that one. VST, kind of the leader of the group, I would say, on the day today, because that is the one directly with the news as well. So using that as maybe an indicator to trade the OKLO and the SMRs perhaps, and yeah. Oxy continuing to push. 43.70s was that high from yesterday. We pulled up to 43.78. So just being patient here. Market tailwind to the downside as well. There goes SMR. What a trend break, pulling right back in. Let's see if we can find some support down anywhere in the 20s as that pulls right back in. Let's see what the Mag 7s are up to. Wow, Tesla coming right into that 431. That 430.
It's getting.
We looked at those. We looked at the options chain. From was it this morning? I was going to say yesterday. Joe came with that 430 chain right there. That's coming in right away. So that's looking interesting.
No
to me
catalyst,
as well.
and it's just flushing
of
here.
Course, yeah. Sellers have been dominant on this name back to back every single day.
It's not just them. NVIDIA with a heavy candle as well. One of yesterday's darlings, the defense names, not as bad, but my guess is you're not seeing it as bad in like a Palantir type name because of what happened already in this stock. So here comes Open Door back in. It's going to be pretty key. With that little bit of a flush it's not a flush. I mean, some names had flushes. The market is down 0.1 on the Nasdaq, and the ES is actually still up. But it's going to be key if it can hold on to this 7. The problem you have going is it's now a big time false break of the high. So when you have a false break of the high, you can't just step in blindly to buy, or you're going to get hurt. The thing that looks the strongest right now will be, and for everyone out there on my list to watch, is going to be Oxy. Like Oxy's actually setting up much better for long than literally everything else. So if it can do anything like pull back and any consolidation, that looks like the one to chase a little bit. And JA in the chat saying Rocket is looking pretty good, Obi.
Yeah,
that was on your list. I don't think. I mean,
RKT. I'm watching that as well. Got involved with a little bit of Oxy here. Let's see if it kind of continues. We did kind of pull back in, step back up, but I'm going to keep it tight. Let's see if that works. SMR pulling back in. OKLO with more of a sell there. ES with a bit of a bounce. happening here, but the Nasdaq still, I guess Nasdaq's making a bit of a bottom wick as of right now. Intel, is that one going? Yeah, it is. 42.
Turn on Intel?
Yeah, swipe right back up. So
that is insane.
Looking great on the long there as of right now. The shorts on these nuclear names. Wow. And we talked about CCJ, man. That's the one I'm missing. CCJ is at all-time highs, 212s right now on CCJ. So that's another name, Cameco Corp, to the upside here. Not that much volume, though. Okay, that's why it's not really showing up on my radar just yet. Only about 790K shares traded right now. Okay, there goes Oxy stopping me out there. That's fine. I'm going to be a little patient with this one. Nothing too crazy. Just waiting for things to just fall into my lap. But as of right now, it seems like the nuclears are falling down. So if you took any sort of a breakdown of that morning trend, yeah, Amazon as well taking a beating to the downside here. Yeah, I did. That was your elbow?
That was my elbow.
Damn.
I just cracked the out of my. I was stretching. I just cracked the crap out of my left elbow.
Oh, man.
That was intense. Apparently my mic stinks, so. It's one of these days I have to show you what Fabian or Ramin and Andre tell me to do with the mic whenever it's giving you guys issues. They're like, yeah, can you touch your mic, Neil? I'm like, oh, goodness. So well, hopefully it's getting a little bit better. No, Intel broke out that 4250. It's not so much that it did break 4250, it's how it broke 4250. Look at the reverse. There was no chance. No chance, because that's what you got, like Vince McMahon says, to get this breakout of this. Like, look at the trend break. Like, you had to have it literally before the open. That's before the open, the trend break. And then it rinsed the bottom and then tried to break out here. You couldn't get the 42. I couldn't get the 42s on the way back through. I said need to clear that. So we end up with the 42.5 break. I want to play this. I'm buying dips into VWAP, and we're playing it into 43. While that was happening, ooh, Oxy. All right, Oxy's trying to pull back as well. That's pretty heavy. It doesn't hold on to prior day high, so that might be no good. Open door, which was strong, is now, yeah, that's starting to hold a little bit better as well. So I want this candle to close above the high, and then I would get involved in it. But unfortunately, like if you're looking at the bottoms here, okay, fine, like Intel's going, but you really just 430 on Tesla. Yep. Yesterday's low on NVIDIA held, 430 holds on Tesla. You could have one of these little V-shaped type moments. So I'm going to stick with Intel. That was on the list for sure, guys. And I see in the chat, hey, if silver is going, don't hesitate to type $SLV in there instead of just saying silver, because oftentimes like it'll get missed, like especially in the Bitcoin names. If you type IBIT, we'll get it, but people will say like Mara and then in BTC. But if you type the actual ticker, then it shows up in the visualizer, which we have up, and then I can know what you guys are interested in. Silver breaking the highs as well. So a bit of a recovery for the market here. I just happen to like Intel for the next even dollar, and then we'll try to buy the dip. So I'm essentially playing here to here, and then ideally, maybe there's even like a 43 to 43 half play. But until we break out of that range, I'm gonna try and stick with this first like 1% move here on INTC. Hey, if the president likes them, that's usually been a good bet in the past.
Another one that we talked about this morning that is ripping to the upside alongside some of these other names, Neil, is SNDK. Take a look at this one here. Up 350s all the way from an open in and around 341. So that's a bit aggressive there, pulling right back in. So yeah, maybe reverting a decent chunk or more of the prior day's action there. Prior day's highs coming in at 360. We're still far ways from there as well. Market taking a bit of a bounce here. You can see both of these 15-minute candles with about half of them left to print, 7 minutes roughly remaining on this first 15-minute candle, guys. So yeah, market with a bit of a bounce here after that initial flush. So Amazon coming in with a reversion all the way back to its high. So as soon as I spoke of it, it was all the way down at 243.50s. When I was talking about it just now, 245s, wiping right back above opening range highs, back up into pre-market lows, but not really doing relative volume. So I'm going to wait and watch. Yeah, sure, maybe some price action scalps are in store there, but again, patience is a virtue. VST coming right back up into VWAP as well. So it might be the time to start looking back at these nuclear names if I was looking for a long, which I was, and they did not do what I was looking for off of the open, so I kind of left them alone, just waiting for some structure to form, waiting for some price action to form at the same time. CCJ, another one. Amico, what are you doing?
We're getting a wow. Yeah. Look at the market. The ES is back to the high. The Nasdaq is almost at high. It's so hilarious that in the moment that the Nasdaq just pulled back into the high, literally the opposite just happened in Intel. Like Intel, well, lucky, a lot just happened. The market pulled in back into the highs. Intel dipped back into prior high, so was able to reload it, not at the same price, a little further away from the 42.5. We got 59s, and now it's right back in and trying to make that press into 43. So this continues to rally to the upside. The Nasdaq, that's not bad. Hey, if you like longs, hopefully you're able to find something at the bottom. NVIDIA with a nice bounce, Tesla with a nice bounce. The only thing that doesn't look great is, SMR here trying to go. So it doesn't get to that 22 at all. And I just heard in my ear the defense names.
Oh yeah,
Kratos.
we were going to talk about those.
Oh,
yeah.
KTOS. That's what I'm like, what the heck is that? Kratos here with a nice bounce, so that's breaking out. So yeah, market looking pretty good on the bounce. Got the reload in Intel, still the only thing I'm in. I haven't been picked up on the bid at all in Open Door. So that hasn't gotten back close to that $7 level. But Intel looking pretty good to try to get into 43. I'm going to try to hold a piece for the 43 break and see where it goes, but I'll trail out if we fail that 43 break for sure. Let us know what else you guys are watching. I haven't checked in on any other Mag 7 names. Well, that's not going to help Apple. Apple's not doing anything to help the market. Boo, Apple, boo. The stock can't get out of its own way. Look at that daily chart.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, some selling, yeah. Back-to-back sellers on Apple as well.
It's going to be an opportunity at some point.
For sure. I think
yet.
There's a lot of opportunities happening here with the market wiping right back up. I got a little bit involved with CCJ, but again, chasing into it, so not really sized accordingly to the chase, not really sized too well, I would say. The pre-market high was good there at 111s, but again, not really doing that much volume. So let's see, it's got to work for me a little bit more, maybe some pullbacks as well as it continues to make higher highs and higher lows. Wow, there's a little bit of buying here happening. So 313s, let's wait and see. What was that prior high, you may ask, there on the weekly? That's 110.16s, and that came in right off of the open there, 110.16. But like I said before, not really doing any sort of crazy kind of volume just yet. So wait and see if this one can hold 313 with any sort of distinction and then pull any higher. But all-time highs, right? All-time highs, you got to give it a little bit of room. It's not doing that much volume either. So I'm being patient as well, looking for the next trade. SMR actually got back to VWAP here. I was looking at this dip down here at 2120s, and I was like, all right, maybe this can get back in, especially if the market starts to pull and VST also goes, and both of those things did happen. So a quick little scalp there, miss on my part, but from 21s to 21.5s here on SMR at the same time. So wait and see. Wow, that was a little bit of a fill there. Okay, cool. So 13s, just kind of teetering in and around 113s here on CCJ. I got to take a look at
so much stronger.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all-time high break, right? Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe some more pressure there. Okay, we got a super chat from Danny's boy. Thank you very much for the super chat here. Don't sleep on the VIX today. This market looks good right now, but the VIX isn't falling. Supreme Court fear?
Well, the thing, yeah, uncertainty is going to be a bit of a play because we don't even know if first of all, we don't know if we're getting a Supreme Court decision, right? Like it could come today, it might not. Certainly the president could always opine on something, but yeah, you're not really getting much of a fall. Like we're actually bouncing off of support in the VIX, but the price action's still looking pretty. Look, it depends on the stock you're watching. Because I'm sitting here saying the price action looks bullish because I'm looking at Intel and Open Door and Oxy. So like that's actually a little bit deceptive because we're still kind of failing prior highs here and unable to really bust through. So, and even as I say this, Oxy is not holding VWAP, so I can't bring myself to get into this. This is still a false break of the prior high on Occidental and a lower high being put in. So right now, it's really just the Intel story because I got to slap the fail on myself, and I'll show you guys what's going on in Open Door in a quick little second. So we're holding through on the break of 43 on Intel, and now just going to watch tape. If we start to fail, just keep in mind, Intel, you got some big highs in here, like the 52-week high. These are not all-time highs. If it breaks 45, not even close. But you do have 52-week high, which lingers at that 44 level. But we are running into yesterday's resistance. So that's the failure that I'm concerned about up top here on Intel. If it does happen, then I want to make sure I jump out. And again, that's just my style of trading. Like I like to play the gap move. And if I can get that, move on to the next opportunity. And Intel, if you can get a point, usually pretty good.
Yeah,
percentage.
Yeah, percentage-wise. Yeah,
right?
if you can get a dollar on Intel, that's absolutely.
That's 2% on Intel. Like keep in mind, like Intel's a $40 stock, right? So like Tesla moving 1%, you know, like it has to go $4. Let's just say this one only has to go 40 pennies. Yeah, keep that in perspective.
That one's a bit finicky as well. Like I like to trade it often.
Matters.
I mean, liquidity matters, and then like sometimes what happens is like the spread will be like 1 or 2 pennies, and then there are times where the spread opens up to 10 pennies, and then the average kind of range of the minute candle or the average range of a shorter time frame candle might be like 5 pennies at a time, and then it starts swiping 10, 15, 20 pennies. And it's just like, okay, well, I'm sized for one kind of average range, and then it starts to swipe even harder than that. And
but the good news is you can usually tell what type of a market it's in.
Yeah.
I just trailed out of it. Oh, so anyways, this just happened on the 5-second chart. Psych. As it dumped off this level on the 5-second, I'm like, okay, it's kind of trending back into it. If it loses it, that's where I'm going to trail. This was kind of the area that I was going to get out anyways on Intel. But I like to look at that 5-second, and it's holding a 1-cent spread this entire time, which is pretty good. But again, to my style, I'll go back to the dip if I can. I like that opening range trade and then try to get the next one after that. But I promised I would show you guys Open Door. And yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity. Like Open Door already bounced. I'm sitting here waiting for $7 anchored to an even level instead of just doing what Intel did. Like it gave you multiple bounces off the volume weighted average price. And now this one doesn't look as good for obvious reasons. Like look at that, like that pullback. Like these ones are individual 3-minute candles that are holding and then you're getting a 20, 30 cent pop inside the range. This one was a big sell candle. I'm not going to jump into this bid as quickly. Again, next available dip on Intel because that's been an absolute rocket ship today. Outside of that, if you look at the rest of the Mag 7, Alphabet was really strong. And again, it's looking like it's got some strength. So you have this battle going on between the likes of Apple looking bad, Google looking good, NVIDIA looking meh, like right in the middle. Kind of like Goldilocks there.
Yeah,
just in that zone. Right.
Yeah. So CCJ is kind of trailing up there. So I have 113s. We're coming into 114 here. Let's see if we can push a little bit higher. Wow, straight through 114s. So 115, I like 115s as well. A little bit of a psychological level for me. I like to work in 5s as well as 3s and 9s. But let's see if that 114 can hold. We held 113 with some distinction. We're holding trend pretty well as at the same time. So let's see if we can continue this bit of a trend and accelerate. Again, an all-time high breakout. So, you know, a lot of participants could be you know, interested in this name. The sector is good as well. So let's see if it comes into fruition here. I am kind of piecing off slightly as we push higher, but yeah, it just looks like every little pullback gets bought right back up. So being patient, let's see if it can kind of follow through. But already, you know, it's extended a little bit there. I'm looking at that 110 level, and I'm getting involved at 113. That's $2. Sorry, $3. Quick maths. Way too late, man. Come on. Bit of a chase, but you know, all-time highs. I'm willing to get involved in higher consolidation.
Sometimes
hey, Neil, guess what? I'm trend trading.
What? It ain't so. Obi is trend trading. Okay, let's
boy.
back it up. The apocalypse.
It's the end of the world.
Rebecca, I love you. Aaron, it's been my pleasure and privilege to be your dad. If you're watching this, I want to say goodbye to my parents. If Obi's trading with the trend, we're screwed. We're all screwed. It's all over now. You've unleashed the Kraken.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm trying to expand my skill set, right? You got to get a little gooder every day, you know. So that's my goal. But trend trading, definitely. You guys have been here with us for a long time, but getting a little bit better with getting involved with trend more often than not.
The word of the day.
But what's the word of the day?
No, we have a graphic for the word of the day.
Right. But what I'm asking, is it trend trading?
No, didn't you say like gooder?
Get gooder. That's not a real word.
Of course it's not. That's exactly my point. It's not an actual word. You can't say get gooder, but I don't have that. Sorry, I don't have that key.
All right, that's the break of trend.
Intel might have just turned at 44, but I am now for the first time into open. So effectively, look, I wanted it off this prior high, so I'll just take half and keep a tight stop on it. Because I feel like it's given you the move twice, and I probably missed it. So this one I cannot possibly like as much as I would have liked it earlier. As I said, Intel's pulling back potentially because, well, A, the market's, dumping's not the right word. The market is dipping back in pretty heavily. I see NVIDIA heading back into the lows. This could be causing a bit of a dip for sure. But that wasn't enough of a dip to, wow. Yeah, that dip didn't even want any part of the prior high. Intel looked like it was pulling back off 44, and I was going to try to get back in off that prior high. No mas. Not even close. This thing is going ham. 7.5% now on Intel, as it is now at, okay, never mind. It's close to 52-week highs, but this is a wick. If we can break, 45 is going to be wild on this stock, Obi.
Yeah, all right, guys. So savvy Canadian traders who are looking to boost their exposure can now tap into the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 with Beta Pro 3 times daily leveraged ETFs, featuring built-in FX hedging. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders ready to take on the market. Read the full disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. All right, so
about Tilray.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tilray, yeah, back to the downside. So we kind of lost a bit there. Here's a beautiful thing, Neil, about like I love reversions, and if I'm trading with the trend, guess where I know when to sell.
See, that's
right?
actually,
I'm just like reasons to buy, reasons to sell.
That's a very good point.
It just comes in. I'm just like, I know if I wasn't in the long right now, I would definitely be trying to slap a short right there.
There is the one downside to this. Because it happens, because I do it all the time. You know when there's an uptrend and you're like, this is a reversion, that's a reversion, and you look at like on an uptrend 3 or 4 different places where you would get out.
Yeah.
What will end up happening as well is then when you're in a long, because if you're a good reversion trader, what will happen is you'll be in a long and you will get out early because it'll show you what looks like these pullback reversion trades. I'm just gonna, and I'll show you exactly my point here. Again, that's just my style. So oftentimes I see this move up, and I will see that as a possible reversion for VWAP. Well, when I got out the first time, there was no guarantee I was going to get VWAP. I just happened to, because it's like if I'm thinking short, I would have shorted this. But instead, I was long. But then you see these reversion levels, you get there, and you're like, I'm going to get out, and then it's going to revert, and I'm going to pull back into the long. But as someone who likes reversions, great. They make money for you when they work, but they will also get you out of some long positions by having that sort of mentality. So again, you can always say like a win's a win, but I know exactly why I got out here. It gets pretty obvious because I was thinking that was the next dip, and that would be my chance to play the trend. And then it goes absolutely bat-ish crazy to the upside. So we'll see. There still hasn't been a red candle on the 3-minute. I can try to wait that one out instead of look for a top. But if it does look like a distinct top, yeah, there's probably a short incoming. Oxy finally holding above. It took forever.
Funny you're looking
Oxy.
at that. I'm looking at that right now.
Like it's finally holding above VWAP. So this could be the chance. The other thing Oxy's got going for it is you've now got, so I got a couple of higher lows, and then this trend that it's setting up can start to set up a trend that'll hold a volume weighted average price. I'm in open door, trying to scalp into the high. Intel's going to be in play. Oxy as well. A-Rod said, I thought you like silver, Neil. I do, and I do like it as a trade. It's just, it can't be on your list every single day. Here's the thing, like I actually found silver was much better in this range, in like the low 60s range, because you had a pretty clear support level, like you had some like top end like resistance, and then since it's gotten back to here, it's just been really choppy. It looked like it was breaking out, then disaster day. You kind of thought, okay, They can just give you a fade off of this level, and then at the open it was nowhere close. I just have not been able to find it in a range that I've liked. So I stayed away from it the last couple of sessions. But maybe that's a mistake, because silver is up 3% on today's session.
Yes, the silver move has been kind of slowing down, kind of breathing a little bit, pulling back in. We've heard kind of, not, I wouldn't say rumors, but people that are taking the swing short on silver, SLV. But, kind of going back to the point that you were making earlier, getting involved a little early. That's why sometimes when I'm trying to revert things, I see certain signals where it's like, okay, well, sellers are starting to step in here on something that's trending up, and I'll get involved a little early on the front side of the move. But what I'm starting to realize is that when that happens on the first sign, I don't necessarily have to react, right? It's more of an observation now where it's just like, okay, sellers are stepping in. Now let's see what happens after the sellers step in. But sometimes there are nuances for certain reversions where it's just like, if it's been going absolutely crazy, I do probably want to get involved in the first sign of selling, right? And right away, if I see a distinctly different kind of tape action, I'll be like, I'm putting on a starter right here. And then if it starts to continue to work, then I'm going to add with more conviction there as well, and that's been working out okay. But silver on the day today, yeah, 72s coming in here. Got involved with a little bit of oxy. This chart on my side does not have a volume-weighted average price, so I am going to throw that on there.
We're all contractually obligated at TraderTV.Live to have VWAP on our charts. That's how we roll. As a matter of fact, hit the like and subscribe right now, and Obi will add VWAP to that chart like we all need. Only 22% aren't subscribed. Should be 100% subscribers. But I like that 22. Let's get it down to 22 is like one of my favorite numbers, but that doesn't mean I want to see that, unsubscribed in the teens, everybody.
5 is my favorite number. Let's get it down to 5. We'll do a split of 95-5. How about that? I think that can be a goal. Why not? Let's make it a goal to have 5% unsubscribed, and then 95% subscribed, and then maybe we can have a little celebration if we can get to that goal, achieve that goal there. So that only happens if you guys participate. Those of you who are not subscribed, all it takes, whether you're on your phone, and on your phone it's even easier. Thank you, Manta Desgutis. Did I say that right? Degutis. Mantis. DEGUTIS. 3354. Thank you very much. Saying I just subscribed, guys. MDG. So all it takes is a little bit of a mouse movement and a click, right? And then you're up to date.
You gotta move your mouse. That's too much.
Oh man, is that too much effort? Well, I don't know what to say about that.
You kids in your.
I mean, if it's on your phone, it's just less effort if you're on your phone. You just gotta boop. I don't know.
Which around here you can't leave your phone around anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise you get locked out of the studio.
You need that. Like
I frantically ran back to my other desk, and I'm like,
left his phone here. So like, Obi was literally locked out during the opening rundown at one point, and someone had to run and go get him because he forgot his phone. No, the market. This is so weird because I know like you're long Oxy, Intel went ham, open door starting to work, but I pull over and look at the Nasdaq, and it's not all roses. Here, I'll just show my black chart because I don't want to get away from individual stocks too much there. But like we're in this crazy rinse back and forth here on the Qs. That's overall looking kind of weak because we're off of those highs that we made at 8:30 when we got our jobs data. So yeah, kind of weak, but VWAP is held. I haven't been able to reload on this. Like every time I try to snag the bottom of one of these 3-minute candles, I do not get it. I don't need the other order in there, but we're trying to reload at VWAP. We're halfway to the high here on open door, which is going to be the target. It's going to play inside of the range. And the other thing to watch, those nuclear names, some of them are going, others are like SMR here. We're just kind of languishing a bit. What is at least interesting for me on SMR is now we got this wedge. Right? Like we put in a couple of higher lows, so patience in SMR, and have a pre-market downtrend which can break above VWAP as well. So that's what I'm eyeballing for SMR here. Yeah, we're going to have Kashkari. He's not a voting member, but he is speaking at 10 o'clock. So Fed's Kashkari speaking at 10. that could move the markets. And for everybody worried or thinking about the Supreme Court tariff ruling, maybe we get it today, maybe we don't. We will keep our ear to the ground. I can see Adara's right there. She will not miss anything, trust me. It just doesn't happen. So we'll keep you guys abreast of any developments we do see. But the next thing coming up, we're going to have Neil Kashkari speaking. And I believe also at 10 o'clock we get U Michigan.
Yeah. Apparently, one of my pod members just reminded us that around 10 o'clock we get that decision on potentially that decision on tariffs. Maybe. Perhaps.
Just a big maybe. Because like if we don't get it today, I don't want people saying, "But where's the tariff decision?"
I mean, a lot of things are just maybes, right? That's what we're here for. Probabilistic. What's the probability that it will happen? I have no idea.
You know, so I couldn't find that on the betting markets. On the betting markets, they seem to only have data. Like you can bet whether it'll be reversed by 2028, which is kind of useless to bet on when there's a potential decision today. So if anyone knows what the odds are. You can bet on
real estate prices now. Did you
bet
hear
on
that?
anything, man.
That was crazy. I mean, I know XLRE doesn't really do much volume, but that's the first thing I looked at. I was like, oh, maybe something's happening here. Nope.
Fabian just said in my ear, you can bet on how long the press secretary is going to talk for. Like it gets a little bit out of hand.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's probably like, you know, if you were to study every single time they talk for. Maybe you could get something out of it, but I think we have numbers right now.
Almost 10 o'clock. We're going to have numbers at the desk with Adara.
We do, guys. In 5 seconds, we're going to get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment, 53.5, coming in at 54, so higher than expected University of Michigan consumer sentiment print. So again, 54 versus 53.5 forecast. University of Michigan 5-year and 1-year inflation also in a good direction here, a little bit here. 5-year inflation, 3.4%. That is a little bit higher than the forecast of 3.3%. 1-year inflation, 4.2% versus the forecast of 4.1%. So we're expecting a little bit uptick in inflation, which is kind of a mixed look there, but better than expected consumer sentiment. That's an odd kind of number combination here. Here is the Nasdaq as we do try to find a little bit of a bounce here, slightly higher lows that we've been making since the pre-market at 10 a.m. We are expected to potentially get some kind of update here from the Supreme Court as they weigh some decisions. This could include the tariffs, but as I've mentioned and Brendan has mentioned, we've all mentioned a couple times, absolutely nothing is guaranteed. If I have any link to watch this or any ability to tune in, I will, of course, keep you all apprised, and I will certainly be keeping an eye out on X as well. We have to talk as well here about this meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and oil company executives at 2:30 p.m. Obviously, that has not happened yet, but I'll keep you guys posted on anything I see in here. OPEN, speaking of Trump, moving higher here alongside the likes of OfferPad and RKT after U.S. President Donald Trump's announced via Truth Social a plan here for $200 billion mortgage bonds. Basically, apparently going to get representatives, it's not clear who, to get involved in this space. Then last but not least, INTC, also in a Trump-related headline with U.S. President Trump meeting with CEO Lip Bhutan of INTC yesterday. And apparently the meeting went well. He praised the company. He's grateful for the U.S. government's investment. Now, before we send you back to the guys, we're going to take a moment here to read thank our friends at Oragenics, because there are millions of concussions but zero approved therapies. And Oragenics is advancing a new standard with its intranasal brain-first approach to concussion treatment. With an $8.9 billion market on the horizon, Oragenics is positioned to drive what comes next. See what's ahead and book a meeting today. Back to you.
Yes, thank you, Adara.
Let's see. I think, have you seen this SNDK, man? This thing is straight to the upside here.
Is it though?
Yeah, so that continuation from yesterday, we had a bit of a bid here coming right back in. Wow, there goes SMR. So I kind of got a little short there against the VWAP, pushing right back into the lower end of the range here, just being kind of active. Let's see how it comes in here. Market maybe with a little bit of a pullback, but I do have to be a little bit nimble on this one as it kind of, it's chopping around 30, 40 pennies at a time in this range. But the past couple of times that we've got up into VWAP,
Tesla's about to break 440.
You can see here, we've been 440. Wow, what a bounce. What a bounce.
That is absurd.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure this isn't a trap at all. There's no chance in the world that Tesla breaking 440 after a parabolic $10 move up is a trap. There are some traps that it's insane to walk into, and there are other ones that you're pretty much going to do every single day. Tesla's going to be one of those kind of things. So like I fully think that there's a decent, I call it like 50-50 that it false breaks 440, and then you're either looking back at 438 or like VWAP's all the way at 35, so maybe prior close is gonna be higher than that. So if it doesn't hold 438 in a false break, you'd probably be looking for like 35, 36. But this is too much of a, I mean, look at the level. Look at Tesla down here. Like if you're not taking this break on Tesla, then you don't take Tesla breaks. But I don't mind trying to get involved in this. Like if this candle just closes supporting 438 and then inventory into 440, I might jump into that. But I just also got, okay, well now Oxy just came in. So Occidental finally dipped in, obviously dipped into VWAP because that's where I'm sitting. Oh man, boo. I was all excited by Tesla, and I got the dip because I was sitting on VWAP, but I just realized as I just drew here that I'm getting the dip as it's trying to break the trend line. So it's not the best timing in the world. I'll probably need to jump out of this. No, you know what? I cannot be sitting in that trade. It completely violates an entry strategy that I would normally take. It's only like 8 cents or so, but it doesn't matter. Like that is 1, 2, 3. That's a break of trend. Just because I liked VWAP here doesn't mean I want it there. Got to jump out of that trade. Again, it might only be 8 cents, but a good friend of mine always said, principle is priceless. It's the same thing with your trading rules. Sure. Like the price, yes, but that was 10 minutes ago, and in this moment, it violated that entry plan. So I'm going to try to focus back in here on Tesla. If it doesn't break 440. Look to see it hold a higher low off the pre-market high and then try to work into that. Open door, I was able to get 2/3 out, but looks like it's trying to work through VWAP as well. So the market's trying to come back in here.
Yeah, so the market's kind of choppy here. SMR, man, I mean, I don't even know what my fills look like on this thing. Wow, okay, so Oxy got stopped out of that one there as that pulled back in as well. But I wasn't really watching that one. I set the stop and I was just like, all right, cool, do your thing here. But yeah, no, this SMR coming in with a bit of a chop here as we just chop in and around VWAP. So I have definitely sized down into this. I did get aggressive back through this 40, but you can see here I did get a little aggressive once again here. But now just holding on to, I guess, the least there. But because we are making some higher lows, I got to be involved closer to VWAP. I think that's the issue here. If I have better prices, then maybe I'm not acting kind of like this. Buying all these swipes up on the ask. Wow, look at that one.
Just do it or don't do it. Netflix continues its malaise.
Coming in, man.
I'm not gonna be that guy, but I'm still waiting for 83.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I mean, the
Netflix,
chart speaks for itself.
That's exactly the point.
Yep.
On Netflix, and I'm still sitting on a 5-second chart from earlier. No, this chart speaks for itself. It is trend down. There's nothing until you get to $83 here. So if it's in a downtrend, let it get to your price. Why compromise? Inane investments, Netflix, I'll ignore Netflix, you have lost more in value than WBD is even worth. It is out of hand. I do believe it's oversold. Thank you for the comment. I don't disagree. I think it's a little bit overdone here. That said, you can still wait for it to get to a better price, right? So yeah. I'm still thinking the low to mid 80s.
I like the dip buy, man. I mean, I'm waiting for it, but it's just like it's definitely like it's been reverting, right? We took a look at that chart yesterday on the midday as well on the weekly. Just take a look at the weekly or the monthly. You can see even before all this WBD shakeup, it was already selling off. It was a multi-year trend.
That's the point. And the other thing is the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain.
Oh, it's definitely not irrational.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, it's just even you can disagree with how a stock is being valued or the market's being valued, but it can continue to do so, longer than you're able to hold out against the grain. Yeah. And so that's what you're doing if you're just sitting there hoping for a Netflix.
I think when people say that, it's just irrational relative to your perspective. Yes. Right? The market will do what the market does. We talked about this yesterday. The market don't care.
So basically, there's like nothing's holding up right now. NVIDIA is ranging back to the lows. Remember, Tesla was trying to break 440. Now it's pulling back in. It completely ignores the pre-market highs. It's pulling back into the volume-weighted average price. I'm trying not to sneeze here now. NVIDIA NVIDIA is pulling back into some of the lows as the Nasdaq is right at the bottom. You know what? This could be one of those, yeah, do you really want to keep loading into longs? So what's obviously happening here is it's working on open door to go long off the pre-market highs on the dips, but getting lower highs. That's why I have my offer. Like, my offer is literally the high of the day, because this either breaks back out by breaking the trend. Like, there's no point offering here. If it breaks that trend line, that's almost an add into 750. So it either holds 720 now or it doesn't. It's just gotten pretty binary as everything is coming back in. Does that mean, yeah, Intel's breaking trend as well? Where's SNDK? My first thought was, where is SanDisk? And then SanDisk is also breaking trend. So I'm hopping out if we lose 20s on open door, and then, you know, the early longs that have worked, that's been despite the market looking weak. You got to keep that in mind. So, you know, you're getting away with it. Intel was a good long, Open's been a good long, but you got to watch out as the market doesn't seem to care. So even your strong names are starting to come back in here. Although I saw a lot of people in the chat, day 2 earnings play APLD has been pretty strong.
Okay, APLD, all right.
I thought that might have been on your radar.
Yeah, for sure. No, there was so much off of the open today. I was just like, okay, you know, yeah, definitely easy to forget about some of the things there. So let's pull up APLD. I was talking to a couple pod members about the CCJ all-time high breakout trade that I definitely chased. But look at that, Neil. What a reason to sell. That was the reversion. 114 failure to follow through. Like, I'm expecting that with the aggression that we pushed through. We held 13s, we pushed all the way up to 13 halves, and then pushed into 14s. Like, if that momentum doesn't continue, and we don't hold like 14s at all, that's a failure to follow through. And the market's bleeding now right now as well. And I'm just like, yeah, great reasons to sell. I got to get out of this, because if I wasn't in it, I'm definitely selling regardless of what I'm like, whether long or short. Reasons to buy, reasons to sell, doesn't matter. Right? And then if you are position neutral, if you're bias neutral, then you can just make decisions, right? Reasons to sell, okay, I'm selling. If I was in a long, that means I'm closing the long. If I'm not in a position, that means I'm getting short. 114 gives you all the way back down into, what is this? 111 73s now. 112 is VWAP. So great little pullback there on that, but yeah, bit of a miss on my part.
For everyone in the chat that is asking, there has been no tariff decision as for the reason why the market is pulling back in, right? So maybe look, it could be the lack of a decision or the fact that nothing has happened here. But we have been dropping since the 830 numbers that we got, kind of mixed numbers in the labor market there. But we're still range bound. We're basically yesterday's range. We haven't broken the bottom. We failed to break the top, but it seems to me like it's just we didn't get anything, and maybe we needed to see something to get a little bit excited. So if your longs are still working, then I think you got a good one. It's the best way to think about it. Like, Intel's still strong, Open's still holding up pretty well. Some of the chip names are not doing as well either. But my next opportunity is very likely, looking for this to break trend and then add and then move my trail, move my stop. So my stop right now is underneath like 720. I want to add to this on a break into the high and then move my trailing stop. So yeah, nothing yet on tariffs that we can see whatsoever. Look, I like that SMR because it looked like it did.
Still knocking around.
Yeah, but so this is the trend I was looking to break. Because I initially was looking long on these. I was kind of thinking you'd break this trend line and go to the upside. It broke it down and is now just hanging in the bottom end of the range, where the downtrend is confirmed under VWAP. So if it fails here at 21.4, that would be literally confirming the same short you're in, but that's a short setup for me. Do we have to pay for it? No, we don't.
On what? On
SMRs? No. I wasn't planning on going short, so I didn't even realize. I didn't know if we had to pay for locates today.
I was just like, well, I was planning on going long, right? And then I saw that, look, every time it goes up into VWAP, selling. How much more do I need to see? Like, the chart is telling me something, and I'm just like, okay, well, I just have to get with the flow there, go with the flow. And just a little bit of a scalp. Yeah, it's only like, I got like 20 pennies. Yay, great. But whatever it is, I'm just willing to take whatever the market is willing to give me here. If it's going to consolidate. Wow, look at the wick. Bottom wick on the 15s there. What's up, Adara?
Yeah, so again, apparently we're not going to get that Supreme Court ruling here from So we're not going to get the tariff ruling from the Supreme Court. Apparently June's the next opinion date after today, so we're not going to find anything out here now until June. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. You are good luck, because Adara comes on screen and Open Door breaks trend heavily and gets to the high of the day. My target was, I was sitting at 49 like the whole time, pretty much all morning since I got the long. But this trend break was, I don't know, violent-ish. I'm buying next available dip. So this worked. Thankfully, the market, I think the market making this bounce that we're seeing here is probably the reason why we got it. It's like, we can't break the range. I said we're in the range. We held the low, so your longs that were good, hold on to them to target. But we still haven't made any higher, these highs, we have no higher highs on an NQ. Like, they're still lower highs even with this. The second we start making some higher highs, I think you got to look for some re-entries. So you've got some strength coming back into a whipsaw day. If it's trending up, congratulations. Most things have not been. I just saw in the chat. This penalty box stock, ooh, AMD, back into green. So you are getting a nice bounce here. NVIDIA is not quite green yet, but AMD is going back in the green for sure. How are the memory names doing? SNDK, I don't want Blue Ocean, but that's the first thing that shows up on the drop down. SNDK, why did it go over this way? Still strong, but you'd think with that boost up, maybe SNDK would have made it a fresh high. It is not. This one could be forming a bit of a top here on SanDisk. The fact it's no longer moving with the market is interesting. But Tesla's here for that 440 break, by the way.
Yeah, the wipe back up, man. This is crazy, and we've seen a little bit of a distinct difference between the ES and the Nasdaq over the past couple of days. So today it seems like they're back in sync. They're buddy friends once again. Here.
You say buddy friend.
Yeah. So
that's a new one, Obi.
Is it a new one? I don't know. Sometimes things just come into my head. But 21 coming in on SMR. A little bit of a stack on the bid there. What do we got? About 50,000 shares here across 5 different gates. Let's see if that 21 gets filled. Unfortunately, I've covered most of the position there, just holding on to a bit of
break. Tesla false break.
False break of the 440.
False break. So far,
wow, straight through.
So far, like it went maybe, I don't know. It didn't even get the $0.50. So look, breakout trades are a little different of a beast for me. Like, I am not a fan of the, to each their own. Some people like to take a breakout trade and hold it all the way back through. I don't. I like to try to keep it really tight. And then if it's going to be a long over, then I want to see the buyers actually start to win. So I usually don't mind taking 3 swipes at it with tight stops as opposed to the hold it forever kind of idea. But right now, I'm just looking up to see what the market is doing. The market's still strong. Now I'm starting to see buyers hold over. I might jump back in on the bid here. Come back in for a little less size and see what goes on here. Intel still tracking toward the 45 break as well. That's another one up there. And I'm on the bid of Open Door because I do want to get back into that one as the market is looking stronger. On the 15-minute, we just put in a higher low on the Nasdaq. I don't know if you saw that. This is the first time we put in a higher low since the open.
Yeah, I mean, that wick was aggressive, right? That wick might be a little indicative to who's maybe in charge for the short term. But here's the thing, man. What I'm seeing here, I just looked at my my Mag 7 display here. SMR, man, I had to hold on to a little bit here. Again, I'm not really paying too much attention to it because I'm looking for the next trade at the same time. I like how SNDK is setting up. I'm getting a little bit of FOMO for that CCJ as well. I was just like, dude, like I gotta get involved here. Maybe a continuation below VWAP now for CCJ as well. If it can get back through this 110, this is where kind of buyers stepped in. But as I said earlier, we were doing like 700K volume in and around here. Maybe sometimes I just have to be like, it's just, yeah, I know volume's not there, but we were doing some pre-market relative volume, so just get involved with the trade. In a low liquidity environment, trade is a trade, doesn't matter. All right, cool. What was I gonna look at just now? Amazon, right here. So when I was looking throughout that Amazon, below VWAP, yes, the market is catching a bid here, but guess what? I wanna make sure that I'm watching this one to see if those sellers come right back in at VWAP, even though the market is bidding. Look at what Amazon did yesterday. We are bouncing off of a bit of a level, but this seems like a bit of a range as well. Amazon's been trending up pretty nicely, Neil. Is this a lower high on the daily? Absolutely, yes, it is. So VWAP could be interesting. Do those sellers step back in, or do we reclaim? Do those sellers, are those sellers on the day overcome? 245 is a reclaim. There's a little bit of structure underneath it. Opening range highs. I guess if you want to say opening session highs, look at these first three-minute bars have the most volume, and the high amongst those 3 bars is sitting pretty at 245.48. So if we can kind of get above that structure with any sort of distinction, then maybe it's changed the futures as well. Let's see if we can catch a bid. If the futures can get up to 25.8 and push even higher, that's a good confluence for that continuation or the break of trend here happening on Amazon. And the trend indicator on the day today may be just VWAP. Every time it gets up into VWAP, a bit of selling happening here as well. Apple, similar story where it kind of comes up into VWAP. Some VWAP sellers off of the open, a little bit of a bounce. Doesn't really get to VWAP here, but comes right back in. That's a strong flush. That's a nice little flush there. Bit of a wiki action there alongside with the market. Up into VWAP, catching some turbulence here, maybe at prior structure, which is this consolidation, plus the pre-market lows as well, around 258.50s. So watching all of these things here. Amazon is right back up to its VWAP, so I do want to watch it. Let's watch it together here. So Amazon, let's see. Amazon, any sort of volume here. Let's go down to a 1 minute. Any sort of expanding volume into VWAP. Maybe sellers step in. You can see here, it's not that clean. Every time it pushes above VWAP and then sells back in. Pushes above VWAP, sells back in. Pushes above VWAP, sells back in. The third time was the charm.
This tape stinks on Tesla.
On Tesla, yeah, man. Tesla tape is it's finicky. That's for sure.
It's finicky.
40,000 on the bid.
I'm reminded
CCJ.
of 2 things. I just scalped it a couple times in here into the first dollar of that move. Essentially, I'm just scalping it because when I say the tape doesn't look very good, it's just the way that it's selling off. And then I'm kind of reminded that it's Friday as it's trying to make this 440 breakout. And in the scope of things, like there's a boatload of people that have the real long off here and then probably also have the long off 438. So all this failure at 441, like it's right back into the 440 half level. Like it's just, like it's inside the range and not really wanting to break out too much. So I'm gonna wait for more confirmation on the 15-minute, maybe go back into something else. As we go to, I believe we go to Adara.
Yes.
We're going to start here by going over this story and a couple small caps that are related. I did actually mention this as well here during the happening now, but I think it's worth mentioning again. So there are a couple of different names. One of them is not a small cap RKT, but the next 2 that I'm going to talk about here certainly are. OfferPad, the first one, you've got about like a 12% short float on this, OPAD. Anything in that kind of, they call it iBuying or home ownership stock space, pushing higher after U.S. President Donald Trump announces that, hey, we're going to be basically, or he's going to get a representative here to buy $200 billion here worth of mortgage bonds. And you can kind of see when this came out here on the chart, right around here at 4:30, we get this push to the upside. Now we have OPEN, this company, a bit larger market cap, around $7 billion, but also a larger short float, around 14.5%. OPEN pushing higher here, exact same catalyst. It's worth noting here too, these names and this entire sector were also on watch earlier this week after we have U.S. President Donald Trump indicating on Truth Social that he's going to be trying to ban large institutions from purchasing single-family homes. Then we have last but not least, here, IRDM. No story here on Iridium Communications. They are, as their name implies, a communications company, telecom type space. It's about a $2 billion market cap with a 10% short float. Do make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content as we send it back to the guys. And I do want to remind you guys, again, no Supreme Court decision on tariffs today. I'm also seeing apparently their next major decision date is June, but I'm seeing some other reports suggesting that we could get a decision within the next few weeks. I would likely lean towards the June, though, from like the majority of what I'm reading. Back to you.
Yeah, so thank you very much there, Darius. For anyone waiting for that decision, obviously disappointment, but Intel got right to 45. I wish, there was speaking, we don't want to interrupt, but there was one order displayed 1.2 million.
300K shares?
It was a single order, was 1.2 million on the offer.
Shares.
Yeah, 1.2 was on the offer in one book. Total visual, the total that I saw, and that's just visual in the lit market, was at least 2 million shares on the 45. And then you got to think about how many dark prints will be there. So you're backing off this 45 on INTC. But that starts to I mean, that starts to take your interest here as the market's right back at the highs. Intel's trying to break, and it's pulling back. So I think the next run, what I want is the next run. I'm assuming there is one at this point, the next rally into 45 and play it to 45. So wherever it, I almost don't care where it bounces. Wherever it looks like it's bouncing on the tape for now, it might be the 60s. Try to go for a long scalp into 45 even, because this might be a trap.
Yeah, that 45 is very interesting to me. I'm just gonna, and that's why I'm like leaning forward a little bit as well. I'm just like, okay, I really got to stare this down. Yeah, we were talking about maybe shorting against it with a tight risk against that wall, because if that wall gets eaten, talk about some buy demand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. So we'll see. We'll wait and see. Maybe. I mean, Intel's been running. Intel has been winding up for a few years now. I know you're involved in this name as well. So
Still got some.
yeah, exactly. So it's just like this thing is just stair-stepping up, maybe you know, reverting the bigger picture. If we go to a monthly, like
It gets to 50, I'm selling more. That's,
oh, come on.
If you
This
go
is
to
going
a higher
all-time
time frame,
highs.
you'll see what you'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to I'm
higher
going to those right now. Amazon, look at that, broke through VWAP, so distinctly different now. If you were to just draw a bit of a trend line, I was like, yeah, let's see if sellers step back up. Guess what? They didn't. They did not. And then we changed trend, and then I was like 25,800 on the Nasdaq. Comes right into this prior structure. Now let's see if we can get to 245.50s. I'm not involved, unfortunately, but it's just all those if-thens panned out. There goes the ES pushing through its highs as well. So longs are very, very strong right now. Got out of that SMR. SNDK, maybe I'm watching that one here. That's too much size for that one. Let me just resize on that. Getting ready for a potential SNDK. Maybe break to the downside as it is looking distinctly different from the rest of the market. But let's take a look at Intel here, guys. Intel, wow, what a beautiful trend on the day. Pulls back to 44s, can only get down to 44.03s, and then rips up to 45s. That's a whole $1 on something like Intel. And this thing is doing a lot of volume today as well, 57.3 million currently. Normally does about 78 million. That's a 30-day average. But guess what? Today, it's not even half day yet, and we've already done 50 million. So best believe we're going to be surpassing that 78 million average daily volume very likely. Making a little bit of an assumption there, but 1.5 to 1.6 times relative volume. Here comes that 45 here again, Neil. So let's just watch that here and see what it does with some of that size. Is that size still there?
If it fails that, I didn't see it. It didn't get quite close enough to show up on the book. Like, it got to 90, so I want
a little
to,
bit. I mean,
I'm not going to see it till it gets close.
Yeah.
But if it fails, breaks this level, that's probably going to be a very, very quick 30 or 40 cent scalp trade.
Oh yeah.
I think like if you fail 45,
EDGE ready for a back
it looks
through?
like you're going right to 44.6. If there's a false break of that name, someone in the chat was like, "Neil, you got out of open too soon." Yeah, probably. But that's par for the course. The trade, like after I missed the open range and it was making the lower highs, I'm like, okay, trend break into the high and then buy the dip after that, and it's continuing to go. So I get it. I'm still for now on the bid, but I'll probably get away from that now that you're holding over 750. But if we're in now a different uptrend, right? You got that range, and now you're setting up a new range. And once that looks a little bit more interesting, I'll jump back over to it. SMR is starting to look spicy here, Obi.
It's breaking. It ran away from that size again. Intel. We're almost down to 44 halves, 44.60s on the bid.
It can't break it. But SMR is trying to break the all-day trend.
Million shares, you said?
As we speak. If this breaks the all-day trend, I'm in this long. It's about 21. If it breaks 21.40 here and can hold above, I'm going to be in SMR for the first time today. See, we came in thinking that it was going to be all about nuclear names. It hasn't really been. Oh, not really. Like Intel, now the overall market V-shaped recovery, Tesla, Open Door, those have been much bigger than some of the nuclear names. Like, who knew? I'll tell you who knew this was going to go, the president. Why? Because every time he says, I like Intel, he tells the stock to buy.
I guess,
Don't bet against the POTUS.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he did say to buy last April, and look at the market since last April. That was the bottom. That was the local bottom. That was the recent bottom. Yeah. Talk about What's the phrase people are using? He's the stock market president, something like that. But yeah, definitely. I think one of the best for the stock market and opportunities in the market as well. 44.99 here on Intel. So what were we going to do? We were going to take a look at the monthly. So let's just quickly go to a monthly here. I do have to keep my eyes on the book at the same time. Take all that off and take that VWAP off as well. This is what I'm talking about right here. If we get to 50, Neil, and we're coming in to 50 with expanding volume on the monthly, this volume towers that of anything traded all the way from 01s. That's when Intel had the last bout prior to 21, 22, where we got up to $62. We flushed all the way back down to $20. What a dip buy, right? And straight right back up. So coming up into some of those prior levels here, but look at the volume structure here. The volume has been increasing even throughout this gradual steady move that we had from 2014 all the way to 2021. It's many years that it took for us to move about, 250%. Not bad, but there were things that moved much faster than that, and much greater than that as well.
I saw a comment that I want to address. I can't bring it up on screen. Someone was like, "Are you guys trading?" I'm like, yeah, trading doesn't mean you are always in position.
Yeah.
Trading doesn't mean that you are just forcing everything. Trading should mean that you're waiting for X to happen so you can enter at price Y, and then that stock can go to A or B before it hits Z.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And to me, like, everything is about that. So like the last thing I said to you guys was, I'm waiting, well, it wasn't the last thing, I've said it a few times. I am waiting for SMR to break this all-day downtrend. So there's it breaking the downtrend, there's it breaking the prior candle high, there's the long, there's the stop, although now the stop's at 20, actually, well, we're breaking VWAP now, so I really actually have to move my stop here, and whoops. Okay. And essentially, okay, so there's VWAP, there's the opening range high when it held the trend after the open, and then the next stop up is 22, and just like Open Door, don't at me if you're not a fan. Like the way I play it, I play ranges, so if I get a high percentage trade, I'll play it inside of the range and bank my profit when I can get it. I'm usually more about being consistent. So yeah, if we break 22, I'm gonna be that dude that's selling in front of 22.3, the last piece of it. And now that we've gone that far, if we lose VWAP, I'm out. So it can't lose on the trade, but it's waiting for a setup that actually happens. And not just sort of saying, okay, I kind of want it to go. I like this stock long, we're gonna take it. Like you wait for it to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining OKLO, I mean, I'm sure, is it OKLO or OKLO? First of all, I don't even know what the
Potato.
So, look, okay, fine. I didn't know this would be true, but you could have done the same thing with OKLO or OKLO, whatever the heck it is. You could have had this breakout here. That one's going in through VWAP, so it's basically the same thing. Now, I like SMR better because while this is 111 break to 115, that's $4.
Wow, what is going on here on SMR? Is there news?
But no, it's a technical break.
I
Both of
understand
these
the
do the exact
break.
same technical
SMR?
break.
Yes.
It had an upgrade this morning. Also, I do want to mention as well, I know we're talking a lot about the VST deal with Meta, but OKLO also had a deal with Meta. SMR did not, but OKLO and Vistra did, so it's not just Vistra that had the Meta deal.
Okay.
And now we are pretty much all ready to target.
Great long, dude.
But like someone was saying, like why are you trading? I'm vastly different from a lot of other traders that I know, in that I am always willing to give up. Like if it gives me, like think of it this way. When we're trading those trend breaks, that's like your stock's going parabolic to the upside, you short it, and I'm taking it out to VWAP. I always think of this the same way. Like this break, I'm playing to here. The high. It's like the reverse of it's at the high of the day and I'm trying to fade it back into VWAP. Well, I'm trying to break this into the high, and then if it's got the juice, well, there's another side to this I'll get to in a second. I'm going to the 15 minutes so I can show you the other side of this, because it doesn't show up on the 15, so I'll stay on the daily. You're also at a pretty big resistance level around here on SMR. The 50 period is right around where we're sitting on the daily. There's overhead resistance at $23. So there's going to be some sellers in that range. Now, will it be right, and will it come back in for a reload at VWAP and then continue trend? I have no idea. But to me, that's a high percentage trade where I know where I'm getting out most of my legs. It's like scalp usually a decent percentage out, 30, 40, 50% in the first part of the move. That's like the 1 or 2%. And then when it breaks that, look for the next level. And when it breaks that, look for the next level here. And when I saw it slow down, I didn't wait for 40s. I just jumped out when I saw it kind of slow at 22, 22. That's just my style of trading, looking for that next opportunity. Like what? I don't know what's going to be next. Will it be Intel at 45? Maybe. Will it be, maybe it's NVIDIA. I don't know. NVIDIA certainly, NVIDIA could be one too, but that would be more of a breakout style trade. And I'm still thinking 187 short on NVIDIA, by the way. Yeah, 187, I'm still thinking that's a fade. But yeah, we'll look for the next opportunity, but that's why we waited for that trend break on SMR, just for that move. It goes very quickly, gives you like 3.5% in literally 2 minutes or 5 minutes. 3.5% in 5 minutes from one trend break. But you had to wait all morning. We're going to go to Adair in a quick little second, but I really want to make this point. You had to wait for an all-day trend break. Like, how long are you waiting for this? It made this top here at 842. It breaks the trend at 10:30. We say patience a lot in trading. That's what it means. Not taking every trade, but waiting for an actual setup and then just hitting that setup. Let's go to Adair.
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know here, this is not really market moving, but I think it's worth mentioning because I've seen it discussed really heavily here on social media. It looks like President Trump accidentally leaked the private sector jobs for today on Truth Social yesterday. So there's this post, if you zoom in or look at it yourself, it actually looks like it's a scan of a photo here from the Council of Economic Advisors, basically talking about, again, this private job sector and government jobs data that we got this morning. So again, just because it's being mentioned very heavily in social media, I do want to let you guys know about this. Looks like some of this data that we got today was already indicated by US President Trump in what does appear to be a scanned photo posted on social media. Back to you.
So I turned to, thank you very much, Adair. I turned to Obi and he's like, yeah, that's a nice trade. I'm like, what's the first thing? Because you know how I'm at. The first thing you do, he's like, yeah, it was a good trade. I'm like, look at Rigetti. I'm always, my brain only ever works one way. I can't not think of trading this way. I'm just literally built this way. My first thought was, yeah, but Rigetti's better. And why is Rigetti better? Rigetti had bad news this morning. Not good news, bad news. And it had bad news while it's been range bound. Look at the last 2 days. 26, 25 top effectively, and then the low right here at 24.75 as we're doing the thing with the lights right now. So same bottom, same top. Then on bad news, what does it not do when it gets bad news this morning? It doesn't break or even remotely test the low. So it holds without even testing the local bottom on bad news. And when it breaks trend, look at that move to the upside. That's even better juice. It is what it is. Like a trend break's a trend break, but this is what you got to be looking for. You get one of those, just one, that should be your day. Now, look, not everybody's, like it should be your day. You make that one trade and it's like, okay, I shouldn't be able to put on a loss. That'll be worse, but it could be Rigetti. It could have been Intel this morning. It could have been, I don't know, nothing else is coming to mind. Now, I mean, OKLO would have worked up for you as well, but yeah, shout out to everyone that was mentioning Rigetti. The actual news story, I'd have to look it up again, but it was like a delay of some. And Daryl will have it in 2 seconds. There's no point me looking it up. If you care about the news, Daryl will have it in 2 seconds. But it was negative news on Rigetti. So you look for reversions because not everything Obi will look like this. Silver, that's a clean uptrend. So it just really comes down to like, what are you trying to? Like if you're looking at silver long today, then it's been easier than waiting for one shot to be long Rigetti or one shot to be long SMR. Silver, you could just be long every single dip and be good. Adara?
Would you like to hear the Rigetti news? So Rigetti revising the date for the general availability of their 108-qubit system. Now it's going to be around the end of Q1 2026, quote. Apparently they're going to be taking more time to test and optimize the system to ensure the performance is up to our standards. So, I mean, it's not great, but I don't think it's necessarily as bad as you might expect it to be. Like, if anything, it just sounds like they want to make a better product. So I don't think this news is that negative on its face.
Well, either way, it's a really good trend break. It's just beautiful. It's just so, it's, oh my goodness. It's, shoot, we have a key for that. I think this works.
It's pretty. It's so pretty.
We going sig. You know that movie?
Which one?
White Man Can't Jump.
No, I haven't seen that one.
All right, just make sure you watch the original. Don't watch the new one. I ain't watched the new one.
There's a new one apparently.
TLY, we had a super chat, but I just saw, I looked up and I saw, how did you come up with 187 on NVIDIA? Great question.
187.
Oftentimes, what'll happen is we talked about this in the morning. We start at 8 o'clock. Everybody, the market opens at 9:30. We're on for like 90 minutes before that, and we're going over our plan of action, news, watch list, like everything. So this did get discussed, and sometimes I'll forget, and I'll just throw out a number, and I'll say it later in the day as if everyone was watching in the morning. That's my bad. It's this simple. This is NVIDIA on a 15-minute for the last couple of weeks. I can draw you, this is 187 here. So you went from support, loose support where you'd wick underneath it, to firm support for a couple of days, right? So loose support buying here, and then firm support for 2 days leading into today, so Wednesday and Thursday, to yesterday. And what happened yesterday? Flunk. So lower highs, downward trending, you lose the bid in a big way, and then when it bounced, where does it reject? Prior support turns into resistance. So for me, that's where I came up with 187. And that's what I do in the mornings. Like when I talked about the iPad earlier, that's where all that stuff goes into. And does it mean it's going to make my short watch list of stocks that I'm looking to trade today? Not necessarily. Today was Intel, Opendoor, Occidental, and SMR, and sometimes we'll look at some other things. But it wasn't front of the mind, but it was certainly a level in the back. And I literally do that for every single stock that I'm interested. I come in pretty early. Like I'm usually here before 7 a.m. We don't come on till 8. Before we used to come on at 8:30, and that's what I do. I go and I look at NVIDIA, and I set up, okay, this is what the daily chart looks like, the weekly, this is what the 15 looks like. Is there anything interesting? Yes, 187 for resistance is interesting, and move on to the next. And then I'll go over to Occidental, let's just say, which is the red stock I have. That's why you get out. And I look at what's my level of interest in Occidental, and I think I said this, as long as it can hold over 42.75, I kind of like it. But there's the daily, it's about 43, and that's the prior resistance on the daily, so I want it holding that level for any continuation long, where it's either range bound to here or breaking out that top. I do that for every single name, and then that's how I curate my list. We got to go to Adara, time for Sector Watch.
It is, guys, but what sectors are we watching? All of them, because we're going to take a look here at what the whole market's been doing today. And this market, with the exception of a couple sectors, generally pretty strong. We'll start with producer manufacturing in the corner over here, LRCX and AMAT, Lam Research, and Applied Materials, both up here by around 5% each. Non-energy minerals really strong once again this week. We've got process industries to the upside, energy minerals to the upside. Retail trade generally strong, though Amazon lagging the group a bit. And electronic tech, NVIDIA and Apple, two of the maybe brighter spots yesterday, are relatively flat today as Broadcom, Micron, and KLAC take over. Electronic tech is tech services is kind of an interesting look here. You've got AppLovin up 2.5% today, Oracle up 2.5%, Meta, Google, Palantir to the upside, but then some weakness here in ServiceNow, Netflix, and Adobe. Adobe, I know, got a downgrade. So keep an eye here today on ADBE. For the other sectors, you've got pretty flat looking finance, but finance is absolutely on watch. Next week, JP Morgan kicks off earnings season with a bang on Tuesday morning. Then we're going to get on Wednesday a couple more banks. Thursday we get a couple more banks. So all 6 of the major banks here reporting in the span of 3 days. Usually they report in the span of 2. So kind of an interesting look there. I also want to mention here some weakness in transportation. Uber, DoorDash, these delivery companies both to the downside. Consumer durables, you've got Tesla leading now after dropping pretty sharply off the open. But I do have to mention here GM to the downside with some negative guidance coming out yesterday right after the bell. Back to you, and do make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that Intel's coming right back into 44s, man. So, yeah, shorting against that ridiculous amount of size. I guess that was the trade. A bit of a miss. Now, market taking a bit of a pullback here at the same time, Neil. So, yeah, just waiting and watching. And I kind of want to add to your point when you said earlier about sitting on your hands, being patient. A lot of times, people think that actions mean progress, right? Actions mean progress. Just because you're doing something means something's happening. Just because you're punching keys means you're learning. Absolutely not.
That's the gym too. People think it's
exactly. Just because you're doing some movement,
all gains are moving more weight or just doing more reps. Yeah. Get out of here. You see those people doing
some craziness.
Terrible, they'll do quarter squats, but they'll load up a ridiculous amount of weight. I'm like, that's really nice. You go in there, you know how you make gains in the weight room? You go in there, and at one point, I remember the first day, I'll never forget this. My first day, I didn't really lift weights in high school. My first day doing weights for the track team in university. And I went in the gym, and the other guys in the sprints were like benching, like even the guys that weren't big were benching like 185 and like 200, kind of thing. And I was in there, and I was benching 135 pounds. We had like the national champion in Canada on the pole vault, women's pole vault, and she was benching, and she's like 100 and whatever, man. She was benching like 170 or something.
Yeah.
Freak of nature. One of the best athletes I've ever seen. And she was smaller than me. But you know what? I was benching my 135, and then I was benching 145, and then gradually. And by the end of the next year, when I was PBing in my second year, I was benching 225. But I didn't get there by, I'm just gonna throw 200 and move it an inch.
Yeah.
You see, you're moving more weight or doing 1,000 reps like you're some freak. That is not how you make progress at all. It is by doing the boring, put in the work, gradually. That's literally how you make progress in just about everything, everybody. But anyways, I preach way too much, so I'll shut up now.
The example I always use is like, it's a swimming example. I'm just like, you can be in the water and you can move your arms and legs around and you can flail around all you want, and you're gonna put in a lot of work and it's gonna feel tiring and you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm putting in so much work. Guess what? You're probably not getting anywhere. You're not swimming.
No, you're probably thinking and dying.
Yeah, like exactly. You're just gonna get tired and you're just gonna fizzle. Like you're just gonna be like, okay, well now I'm just gonna float here, right? But if you have meaningful reps, if you put in meaningful reps, and the same thing goes with trading, if you learn the backstroke, if you learn the front stroke, or whatever else, you know, I'm not that great at swimming, but I still use the example,
I love
right?
it.
So then maybe you're gonna get somewhere. Thank you very much, Omen514, for the super chat. Neil, I think you need to hear this as a new trader. Your thoughts are greatly appreciated, Neil. The whole team is amazing. Question: do you use RVOL at all?
Okay, so first things, here's what's the best thing about our team and everyone here is I don't as much as I need to, but if you want to ask about RVOL, the man next to me is probably a really good person to ask. And I'll expand on this even as well. Like everyone has a different personality and style as a trader. On the floor was the same way. Sean has his style, I have my style. So I just try to stick to this is what I've learned, and I try to impart that and not move away from it regardless of how it is. But literally tonight, there's like a poker night.
Yep.
Some traders that used to sit on the floor, there's no longer a floor, it's just a studio. Some of those traders have their own office since the floor is now gone. And those traders that used to be here are organizing a poker game for some guys. And so some of us from here are going to play poker. What do you think's gonna get discussed? We just sit there, and the one of the traders who's been trading, that owns that floor, he's been trading since 2000 and, when did we hire him? Sean and I hired him while he was in university, I think in 04 or 05. So he's been trading for 20-something years. And the other guy at the office has been trading for like 15 years. He's the one that had his best day ever the day his kid was born. It's the greatest story of all time. But we're gonna probably talk shop and play poker and have a few drinks. And then we all learn from each other. That's what this show is. Because I grew from learning in that type of an environment where everyone's sharing ideas and trying to get a little bit better, regardless of your style being different from the guy next to you, you could still pick something up. Because we're used to that, we're bringing it to you guys, and I hope you get some value from it. But market's pulling back in here, and you actually have an Amazon position. I thought you stopped trading Amazon, Obi.
What do you mean?
You went from everyday trading Amazon to now every once in a while.
So, yeah, exactly. Because my intention when I was doing that was not necessarily to make money. It was more about like learning price action on Mag 7s when they are in play versus not in play, taking shots and putting in reps for technical trades. When sometimes you have technical trades which it doesn't have a catalyst, there's no relative volume, or maybe there's trades around low relative volume. You're just like, okay, well this normally this is a crazy technical move. Is it doing RVOL? Guess what? It's not. Maybe there's opportunity there. Right? It's just kind of, I was just testing things out. And sometimes I think about it, I'm like, did I take too long doing that? Was that a waste of time? Honestly, I don't know. But it did give me a better understanding of some of the action. It did give me a better understanding of myself as well, okay, what are the things that I need more discipline on? What are the things I need to really work on? What are the kinds of trades I'm good at versus not, right? Opening drives, like I'm looking at this thing every single day. I got a sense of how it interacts with some of its pre-market levels. Because there are going to be players who participate, in the morning off of the open, going into the close as well. So you get that perspective. But at the same time, one could argue that I wasn't necessarily trading in-play stocks and not really building that playbook. Now, I do that a lot more now. I'm just like, okay, well, this is in play, much cleaner, much clearer moves on those. Wow, SMR did a shake and bake, man. All the way up to 2220s, right back down into the day's lows here, coming into 2080s and some change. I think 2070s was that day low.
This actually perfectly makes one of the points I was making earlier. In terms of like sticking to, like you have to do like you regardless.
Yeah.
So like, and I even tweet this out. Sometimes playing this range is you're gonna look like a fool. So I'm gonna look like a fool when Open Door does this. And part of the reason why, like, I will make that trade almost every single time. Sometimes I'll just be smart enough or lucky enough one day to, some days to get back in for some reason here or whatever and get more of that move. But the other side of that coin is, well, what happens if I don't trade SMR that way? Okay, so when I don't trade SMR that way, now what? That's sort of you trade your style, and sometimes you're gonna look like a genius, and other times you're gonna look like a fool, but what's common about both those trades is both of those trades went exactly to plan within the structure. So my risk reward was exactly the best that I could have hoped on both those trades, the way I trade, regardless of one looking great and one looking terrible in retrospect. But that said, the market is unfortunately giving it all back. Or, yeah, not all back, but a lot of the move back here. Only 10 minutes to go. The Nasdaq, it'll be pretty key to see if we can hold on to the top end of the range. And where you're finding some relative strength, I say we, but a bunch of people in the chat have mentioned it, and now I have it on my radar, is going to be IBIT. Because I actually had IBIT on the note today, and oddly enough, I'm glad it never really set up. It did set up, okay, fine. It did set up this short here off the 5140, so here's my fail key. It absolutely did set this trade up, but we were taking other things. We were going long Intel at that moment, so whatever. And then when it broke out, it didn't set up at 5180. So if I had traded it to that, well, I mean, I can't think of a reason I would have been short here outside of the fact it went to the level. There's a reason to short it underneath. There's no reason to have shorted it here, but Bitcoin is now relatively strong on the day. So I will try to, with 10 minutes to go, this is a bit of a false break at that top, but if it can hold on the 15-minute and maybe gain some traction over 52, the long could come in again. It's looking like a reversal, though. So if this reverses and it's been strong, Intel's reversed and it's been strong, the market is struggling a little bit here. I want to see some 15-minute candles give me the next entry for a trade, because it's not SMR anymore. Like, I thought SMR was going to be the kind of stock where if it started trending up, we'd be trading it all day. It's now one and done. Open Door seems to be gone. Intel just lost VWAP here at that 45. You should have just shorted 45, apparently. That was the way to go. So I'm looking for the next idea. I have eyeballs on Apple. A little bit here is that's bounced pretty clean off of its last support. Apple looks interesting. No green days, losing the 50 period. First green day yesterday with a bit of a topping or a reversal candle, and now it's just sort of holding the range. You put in a nice little high or low, breakout, you could have a nice scalp into 260 here. Maybe like 58.5 into 260. Could be setting up here on Apple. So let us know also in the chat what else you guys are watching. I've seen a lot of APLD in the chat, and it's for every Intel that you might have had or like Open Door, there's an APLD or Rigetti that you don't get. Wayne Griffin, thank you for the super chat, Wayne. Should you only risk about half of your trading capital? What's the cutoff lose amount for a prop firm? You bought 278 put contracts, $7 grand in profit. I always look at it this way. The thing that if you're at a prop firm, it's actually not your buying power. Your buying power is pretty irrelevant. It's actually your, like, whatever your daily loss limit that ends up mattering. So, like, whatever your daily loss limit is, to me, on an individual trade, if I can lose, or in prop trading, it's what you can lose in the day. You can also say what you're willing to lose if you're not at a prop firm, because you should set yourself some kind of daily loss limit. That makes sense. I never want to lose more than a fraction of that. Like, never more than like 10 or 20% on an individual trade. That's the first place I look at it. But the second place, and I said this the other day, that's even more important to myself, is I'm always looking at, for an individual strategy, if it's a breakout trade or a mean reversion trade or whatever, for an individual strategy, I will look at the last 2 months and how much am I winning on that strategy. And I am, whatever my best win and average wins are, I'm not risking more than an average win. If it's a mean reversion like that, I'll use an example here. If it's a mean reversion trade here, like that SMR, I look at how I'm doing on mean reversions over the last 2 months, that specific strategy, and I am not willing to, what's my best one? And then my average one is, like, whatever your average one is actually more important than your best. Whatever the average one is, I'm risking less than that. Why? Because I don't want to be losing more on those trades than I have been making on those same trades. And that's the principle in trading that a lot of people forget, regardless of where they're at. Congratulations, 7 grand is fantastic. This applies to whether you're making $100 a day, whether you're just starting out, or you're like a whale trader, in my opinion. Because whatever it is that you do to make money, like if you take mean reversions to make money, then that's a strategy that works for you. You can't take this trade and, when it works for you, be risking more than you're making on average. And that goes for dip buyers, that goes for support and resistance, that goes for breakouts. Like, if you're a Tesla trader holding breakouts $2 against you and then averaging in, okay, fine, that's great. You might lose a lot of money when it doesn't work, but as long as when it works for you, you're holding to make more than that, great. I think that can be absolutely fine. Thank you for the super chat in there. But I try to look at all of those factors. Some of them, as a prop trader, you have a hard loss limit, but it's always more important to me, how much am I actually making on that strategy, and then risk less than that, so that I'm gonna be green every single month is a goal of myself. I'm gonna be green 3 or 4 days out of 5 in a week. If I have a bad day, some of those bad days will be flat. Like, at least, if I look at negative days for myself in a month, and if I have 5 negative days in a month, I promise you this, at least 2 or 3 of them are closer to flat than anything else. But you know what it also means? Some of the up days are close to flat. Like, I didn't make much, but I also didn't lose anything. Profitable, consistently profitable traders will have that profile. Not every day is going to be a home run. If you try to do that, you will lose a boatload of money. We got another super chat here as well. So 4 minutes to go, and then we'll get to lunch. You mean half percentage of capital you traded in your MU puts? If it's an A+ trade, sometimes you will do that. Like, I'll put it this way. There are trades where you'll just go all in for a short trade. IPOs are an example here for us. Like, and it's true for Sean too. I'm sure it's true for you guys as well. Like, that IPO trade, which you're just gonna go in, take the opening print, I'm gonna be out in just a matter of minutes of most of the position. Yeah, I'm gonna leverage up on that. They happen like once a quarter. Very, very different style. But I will always risk relative to what the other IPOs are making. But great look on that MU. Congratulations to you. That was crazy yesterday to the downside. Now it's headed up. It's just these memory stocks are relatively strong. Like, he does the down day, and where's your follow through? It's insane how these refuse to pull back. You could be so weak yesterday and then so strong a day after. SNDK is even more extreme. You could be so weak yesterday, looking like, okay, this is it. SNDK is toast. I'm looking for it to fail under 340. I'm looking for it to fail under 340. I paid for locates again today, and I will not be using them because it does not fail under 340. So I think there's an all-in trade at some point on this short. It ain't here yet, apparently, Obi.
Yeah, no, I think, that's it's great points there, Neil. Wow, Amazon coming in with a strong bid on that market reversal here. So this current 15-minute candle, a little bit of a push back in, but yeah, Intel was the one, man, and SMR as well. SMR came right back into its day low, catching a little bit of a bid once again here. So waiting and watching for that to potentially come in. Let's take a look at this Amazon. Why is this doing this? Hello. Okay, here we go. I don't know what was going on there. AMZN. Take a look at this. So pulled up. Let's pull up the chart right there. Here we go. So I did get involved a little bit here. It comes all the way back into 246s and then comes, I guess, pulling back a little bit right now. But yeah, just risking to the high of that range there, built into it. Didn't really get to where I was looking for. But again, I had to respect it a little bit earlier. I was watching it, swipes up into 50s. I don't necessarily have to hold it all the way up to 46s, but again, the stop was just above that prior consolidation high. Gets me out into the push. The market is bouncing right now, so that's fine. More than willing to get back involved. But where's the next trade? That's what I'm asking this thing. Again, strength off of the lows, pulls back into structure. I did take a little bit of a stab, and then pulling right back in now. Thank you, GG's, on that. Nice little push of the range high. Don't need too much dollar volume to do that.
I just answered Lorenzen's question.
Yes.
So we have not done our stock picks for 2026. Sharif is back from, Sean's just off today. I think G is in Mississauga for a tournament, a hockey tournament. So he's off, Friday's tournament, hockey dad life, normal thing. But Sharif's been off for the week for vacation. We're doing our stock picks Monday at 3 o'clock. So if you want to see our picks for 2026, we're all going to do 3. The goal is to have as many members of the team as possible so we can all do it for that last hour on Monday. So make sure you tune in for that. We got 1 minute to go here.
Okay.
And I don't know, we'll see how this lunch goes. Today, what are the odds? Of course, right? Today we get the Italian flag for the lunch when Sean's not here. Go figure. Beef bolognese with pasta aglio, eolio. Yeah, whatever, man. I'm probably really.
That's what.
And then seasonal vegetables, chef choice salad. So we had, look at the monthly themes we had this week: Greek, Japanese, Moroccan, Middle East, and Italian. That's what we've had. So we'll see. Looks like it could be. Fabian, you excited about this beef bolognese? You love pasta? Okay.
Any shape or form.
Any shape or form of pasta, as long as it's not overcooked. That's the important thing. As long as you don't, al dente. And we just got another super chat, so I'm gonna, if I can find it. Can you throw it up, Andre? Because I can't find it. There we go. Derek Thompson, I just got funded with Traderpool. Congratulations to you. Best of luck. Anybody that's starting your trading journey out there, just remember this. It's a marathon, not a sprint. No matter how long you do it, you never know everything, and you're always trying to learn. That's all we're trying to do, and you get a special treat in the midday because you get to learn from somebody who you have not always got. You always see this person, but you don't always get to see her on the trading desk. So it's our pleasure to bring you the midday with Joey Options and Adara. Go get them.
Let's go.
She brings you the news, but she also trades too, and you're going to get to see her trade today.
See you guys soon.